Sitting of Wednesday, February 14, which is expected to commence at 2:30 p.m. And members of parliament are expected to deliberate on a couple of motions and bills this afternoon, starting with a procedural motion spearheaded by the leader of the majority party, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. The procedural motion on the limitations of debate and sessional papers. In pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders 97.1, the House orders that each speech in a debate on any sessional paper shall be limited as follows: a maximum of 2.5 hours, with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving, and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, with the chairpersons of the relevant committees, if it's not moved by the chairpersons of the relevant committee, and at 10 minutes before the expiry of the time. And the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further, the priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party in that order. Also, the procedural motion on the limitation of debate on the reports of the constitutional commissions and independent offices. This by the leader of the majority party in pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders 97.1. The House orders that each speech in debate on reports of the constitutional commissions and independent offices be limited as follows: a maximum of 4 hours, no more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving, and 10 minutes in replying. A maximum of 30 minutes for the chairpersons of the relevant committees, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and the priority be accorded to the chairpersons of the relevant committee, the leader of the majority party, and the leader of the minority party in that order. Also on the procedural motion on the limitations of the debate on the annual estimates and committee of supply, the leader of the majority party. This, that the pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, that the House orders each speech in a debate on the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on budget estimate contemplated under the Standing Orders 239 and 240 be limited as follows: that the general supply debate has a maximum of 3 sittings within 30 minutes for the mover in moving, and 15 minutes in replying, to a maximum of 15 minutes for each of the chairpersons of the departmental committees, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that the priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party. And the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Dr. Moses Wetangula, has walked in to the House for the third session of the afternoon sitting, today being Wednesday, February 14, the session that just commences at 2:30. And I now hand over you to the plenary.
Waheshimiwa, tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umetua nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge, kwa kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu. Tutakusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao wameridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Tutakuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na utujalie tuyatende na kuyafikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako siendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umesikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. We have quorum to transact business. This is very encouraging so far. Clerk.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this afternoon I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, February 14th, 2024, in the afternoon sitting. Honorable Speaker, the first item is approval granted under Article 223 of the Constitution from the Contingencies Fund in the financial year 2023-2024 from the National Treasury. Second, reports of the Auditor General and financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2023 and the certificates therein in respect of the following: A, Witness Protection Agency Staff Housing Mortgage Scheme Funding; Office of the Registrar of Political Parties Staff Mortgage and Car Loan Schemes; C, State Officers and Public Officers Motor Car Loan Scheme Fund; D, Judiciary Mortgage Scheme; E, the Judiciary; F, Business Registration Service; G, State Law Office and Department of Justice; H, Office of the Registrar of Political Parties; I, Teacher Service Commission; J, State Department for Environment and Climate Change; K, Development Receiver of Revenue Statements; I, Revenue Statements of the Business Registration Services; and lastly, Honorable Speaker, Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I beg to lay.
Thank you. Chairperson, Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee. Mulyungi, is that you? Go ahead. Are you ready?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 13th February 2024. Second report of the Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee on its consideration of the financial statements for the National Government Constituency Development Fund for 5 constituencies in Vihiga County for financial years 2013-2014, 2014-2015, and 2015-2016. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Mulyungi.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion: that this House adopts the report of the Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee on its consideration of the financial statements for the National Government Constituency Development Fund for 5 constituencies in Vihiga County for financial years 2013-2014, 2014-2015, and 2015-2016, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 13th February 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Chairperson, Public Accounts Committee.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, may I give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Public Accounts Committee on its examination of the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the national government ministries, departments and agencies for the financial year 2020-2021, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, the 30th November 2023. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
We have no questions. At statements, Musa Sirma. Is Otienda Molo here?
Mr. Speaker, I wish to issue the following statement with the objective of updating you.
Just hold. Wandai, this is in response to a statement raised by a senior counsel, Otienda Molo. I would want to believe you'll hold this brief. Will you? You don't answer the speaker by saying, yeah. You just say, yes, Mr. Speaker. It's just decorum. You say, yes, Mr. Speaker, or Madam Speaker. Pardon? Well, that's how you have been interacting with the public. Go on, Musa.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to issue the following statement with the objective of updating you on the status of the various issues concerning members with regards to the National Government Constituency Development Fund. Allocation to the National Government Constituency Development Fund. The National Government Constituency Development Fund was allocated a total of 53,531,500,000 in the original budget of financial year 2023-2024. A further 4.4 billion was allocated to the fund under Supplementary Estimate 1, whereby 3.4 million was distributed to 290 constituencies as a conditional grant towards construction of classrooms and integrated learning centers with junior secondary schools, while 1 billion was additional allocation to the 17 constituencies in Nairobi County for school infrastructure development. A total budget allocation for 2023-2024 financial year is therefore 57,931,500,000. The status of disbursement of funds to the from the National Treasury to the board. The National Treasury letter reference AG 13/51/volume 479 dated 9th of January 2024 to the Speaker of the National Assembly committed to schedule monthly disbursement of 10 billion effective January 2024 to ensure that the full allocation is disbursed by the end of the financial year, that is June. Following the undertaking of the 10 billion undertaking, Kenya shillings 10 billion was disbursed to the board in the month of January 2024 and has so far been disbursed to the constituencies. Further, the National Treasury letter reference AG 13/51 volume 4 of 81 dated 13th of February, that is yesterday, has confirmed that plans are underway to release 10 billion by the end of February. That is the letter of February. Status of preparation and submission of project proposal for 2023-2024 financial year. The board, in a circular to the fund account managers, reference NGCDF B/CEO/NGCDF circulars volume 2, 34 dated 29th of August 2023, required constituencies to submit
project proposal by 30th of November 2023. By Wednesday, 14th of February, that is today, 289 constituencies had submitted their project proposals to the NGCDF board. So only one constituency has not submitted. Disbursement to the constituency. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Section 5(1) of NGCDF Act, each and every disbursement from the fund shall be approved and recorded in the minutes of the board. In this regard, and I've noted the challenges faced by the various constituencies in financing urgent administrative and bursary requirements, the board resolved to disburse at least 30 million per constituency that had submitted their project proposal to cater for education bursary, emergency, administrative, and recurrent expenditure. Mr. Speaker, we have attached a list of an annex of the disbursement. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Order, Jared Okello. You don't have to stand before you're given an opportunity. And we transact electronically. Just go to intervention, and I'll give you. Elachi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While I appreciate what the chairman is saying, Mr. Speaker, I would wish to understand the 1 billion that was given to Nairobi County. We finalized everything as members of parliament, Mr. Speaker, last year. We are waiting, we've been awaiting, and right now, Mr. Speaker, as I speak, I have 5 schools I have had to make makeshifts for students to be able now to learn. And some are even now wondering, what do we do? Because even the dorms, right now, we have State House girls, they are really struggling. We have St. George's. We've had to now rethink to do a multipurpose hall very fast to ensure that we can put in the students. So I would wish to know, when is the 1 billion being released to the Nairobi County so that we can build the classrooms and be able now to take in all the students that we have taken, Mr. Speaker.
Robert Bukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as much as I appreciate what the chair has read, unfortunately, it ended prematurely because I was still waiting for him to be able to clarify. Honorable Speaker, what we've also learned is that not all members have got an equal share of the CDF money. Some constituencies have been given 30 million, while other constituencies have been given 60 million. What is the criteria for it? Because we are all equal members in this House. We all represent equal constituencies, and therefore there is no reason why another constituency should get 60 million while I'm getting 30 million. It's quite unfair, and I think that calls for this House to rise to the occasion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Musa Sirma, you record what members are saying. You'll have a response. Wandai.
Mr. Speaker, let me just say this, that first and foremost, the statement that has been issued by the chair of the committee dealing with NGCDF, my good friend, the Honorable Musa Sirma, is thoroughly underwhelming. Thoroughly underwhelming. Because we would have expected, Honorable Speaker, at the very least, to hear from the chair that this much money has since been disbursed to the constituency CDF account over and above the 10 billion shillings that we received in January. If we are to take you seriously. Remember, Mr. Speaker, that these commitments have been made before, but they have been floated. It was just in December, I think on 7th December or 6th, when you were told that by the end of the year, of December, we shall have gotten money in our accounts. It never happened. It never happened. Now, Honorable Sirma is coming here today, the 14th of February, still talking about the 10 billion that was released way back in January. Yet we are only remaining with about 4.5 months to the end of the financial year. To the end of the financial year. And NGCDF is not just about bursaries. You know that. It's about projects which have been planned for. Projects which are earmarked to help the people down there. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this House must put its foot down. I know that the issue of exchequer release is affecting very many other sectors, including the road sector. Right now, Mr. Speaker, I know we are anticipating the second supplementary budget. Yet there are projects which were planned for in the main budget way back in June last year that are yet to be implemented. We rushed into the first supplementary budget, now we are going to the second one, yet projects which were planned for way back as June last year are yet to be implemented as a result of lack of exchequer releases. So if there's a problem, we need to be told what is the problem. Because as far as we are concerned, the government continues to collect money every day, every second, every minute, from Kenyans, us included. We need to know, what is it that is not happening? What is it? So on this issue of NGCDF and GAF, Mr. Speaker, I'm afraid that this House will have to put its foot down. It's something that we want to avoid, but we can't, Mr. Speaker. If only to jolt those who are responsible to do what that they are supposed to do. Because it appears that unless they are jolted, they can't do anything. The only language that these people seem to understand, Mr. Speaker, is action, positive action. Positive action. And the positive action must begin now, Mr. Speaker, if only to send a message. I don't know.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, as I conclude now.
Yes.
So we need a more categorical statement. Not those kind of things, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry to say this. Those ones remain empty promises. And we can't go by promises anymore, Mr. Speaker. They even actually made our Speaker look so bad in the eyes of the public. How dare you make our own Speaker look bad in the eyes of the public? By continuously lying.
Order, and I...
This policy, this tradition of lies is now taking a new turn.
Order, and I use parliamentary language.
Okay, I withdraw. I withdraw the term lie. Yes. And I substitute with untruth. Untruth. I substitute the word untruth for lie or mislead. I'm guided.
Thank you.
May I speak? Shamelessly misleading, I'm being told. Yes. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude that please guide us, help us, Mr. Speaker. If, for instance, we are to go at the pace in which we are moving, how sure are you, Honorable Sirma, that these monies, the 47 billion plus that is outstanding, is going to be disbursed by the end of this financial year? There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. And therefore, we need to move on a pro rata basis. Today is the sixth month of the financial year, the end, actually the 7th month. So we need at least half. We need, okay, at the very least, 60% of the total monies due, which is how much? It's over 35 billion shillings. So unless that is done, Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. These members have told me they are unwilling to proceed with any other business. I'm very sorry. I'm just conveying the message. You know, I'm just a messenger.
Thank you. You have made your
thank
point.
you. Thank you.
Whoever I give 3 minutes, Osoro, your time for 3 minutes. Give Honorable Osoro the
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you know, on this issue of NGCDF disbursement, there is usually no minority or majority. It is something that we all agree together collectively. And while I share the sentiments that have been given by Honorable Pio and I, the minority leader, I'm also looking at the history and how we've also been, operating in this house. A time like this, Honorable Speaker, last year, the disbursement to the constituencies of the NGCDF was about 15 or thereabout percent, or 14, it was actually 14 million shillings, to be exact, at a time like this in January. I tend to think, in as much as there is a bit of some slowness by the Treasury to release the exchequer to the NGCDF board, there has been an improvement. Because at least this time, can I be heard in silence, Honorable Speaker?
Order.
Can I be heard in silence?
Order.
No.
Order.
Let's be practical. Let's be practical.
Order, honorable members. Those are his views.
Those are
You
my
will
views.
also be heard.
At a time like this last year, we heard about the highest constituency had received 14 million. This year, the lowest is 30 million. Honorable Speaker, those are facts. We have the records. If we go by that scale, then I wouldn't be wrong to say that by the time we close this financial year, just like it happened last year, that every constituency will have received the entire amount in their accounts. So, because last year we were at 14, but by May we were at 100%. We are now at about 30 million, the least. By May, I believe we'll be 100% latest. And I think it's also important for us also to be factual. Honorable Speaker, we are actually in financial crisis. It's true. We are in debts. We are faced with a lot of things. These are pronouncements that have been made by the head of state. And in fact, many of the challenges we are facing were caused by these very people who are shouting at me today here and their masters. And that is true. And I'm not, it is true, Honorable Speaker. So even as we say and complain, we also need to appreciate the fact that the Treasury has tried. At least we were able to pay for the Form 1s to go to school. We were able to sort some challenges that we had, and we'll be able to finish this. I submit, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. John Bandi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these are the statistics.
You have 3 minutes.
We are in the 8th month. This is 60% of the financial year. You have only disbursed 17.5%. That is very, very bad for budget performance. I want to take it from there. Secondly, for the 15 years, Mr. Speaker, that I was a member of parliament for Gwasi, then Super South, there is no single time that we ever crossed December with less than 50%. You can go back to records. That last year was not MP for Super South. I am talking about my time as member of parliament for Gwasi and then Super South. So, Mr. Speaker, when we are talking about money being disbursed, let us look at it in a wider scale. This is affecting economic growth of the country, because if you don't give money to the grassroots for development, you are slowing general economic growth of the country. If you give money towards the end of the financial year, it has implications on budget absorption. So, Mr. Speaker, finally, I want to challenge the committee, and with all due respect to my senior colleague and friend, Honorable Musa Sirma, your committee is the worst in performance ever since I came to this parliament. Please don't take this matter lightly. It is your duty. It is not the duty of the Speaker, Mr. Speaker. It is the duty of the committee. That is why we formed that committee, to be in place to ensure that monies are disbursed, together with the leadership of majority. And you find leadership of majority defending the executive when the executive is not releasing money, yet other ministries and state departments are receiving allocations, and I'm aware. So, Mr. Speaker, this matter should not be treated casually. We need money to go to the grassroots for development of our country. The country must move forward. And that can only happen if we get serious with this work let us not look at CDF as if it is money for members of parliament. It is not. This money belongs to the communities across the country. So this money should go there. I'm a nominated member of parliament, but I know I need money in Super South so that schools are developed. I need money there so that students get bursary. They don't come to my home every morning. Parents are coming to my home because they can't get money. So please, Mr. Speaker, the chairman should come out clearly and explain to this House what steps he's going to take to ensure that in the shortest time possible, all the disbursements are made to CDF accounts and not stories, the same stories we started hearing a year ago and the same stories we hear today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Gilgil.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, Mr. Speaker, today is Valentine's Day. There will be a lot of many empty promises in some quarters. And we are praying that Parliament is not one of them today. Because, Mr. Speaker, it is very disheartening for this Parliament to actually defend an already bad performance last year to actually mean it is good. Mr. Speaker, we have suffered, and right now, we have children in JSS. Even the money that is supposed to come through the Ministry of Education has not come. So we have children being sent home, aged 11 years, aged 12 years, because there is no infrastructure and there is no lockers in those schools, Mr. Speaker, and it is quite an unfortunate situation. And Mr. Speaker, you know, just recently, we saw Treasury announce very proudly that they have released all the monies for county governments, 100%, which is about almost 400 billion, Mr. Speaker. The money that is going to CDF is a mere 44 billion, Mr. Speaker, 44 billion. And Mr. Speaker, that's a mere 10%. And the money that goes to the counties, you are not even able to tell what does what. Where does that money go, Mr. Speaker? The money that is felt in the grassroots, the money that is felt in the constituencies and in the country is CDF, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I actually think the CS Treasury owes you an apology, because they have put you in a very funny position to speak on an issue that is not yours, the committee's work, Mr. Speaker, to make a promissory note to this House, and they have not honored it, Mr. Speaker. And what we have had today is an extended promissory note, Mr. Speaker. I think it is a time that we put our foot down, Mr. Speaker. This money is not for members of parliament. This money is for our constituencies. It is for the whole country, Mr. Speaker, and the only equalizer in development that we can be able to see. So I think, the chair of CDF committee, there needs to be a bit of pulling up their socks in terms of performance. This money, this space, this speed is not acceptable. It is not working, and we are actually having children become victims and to be collateral damage in this mess, Mr. Speaker. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you. Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I've been in this House for the last 12 years. I've served in 2 parliaments, and this is the 3rd one, Honorable Speaker. And I want to remind my colleagues who are chairs and who are in leadership in this House that we have seen chairs of committees in the past. We have been able to assess their performance, including chair of the CDF committee. We have seen about 3 in the past before the current one. And what I'm seeing, Honorable Speaker, I see a situation where members of this House who have been given the responsibility to lead committees and to represent fellow colleagues who are members of parliament, they behave as if they have become cabinet secretaries of the current government. So that anytime you go to television, anytime you are here, the way you address us who are your colleagues is as if you are sitting here as the Minister for Finance, as if you are sitting here for me, Honorable Speaker. I think what we are saying is this, and I want to agree with the Honorable Mbandi said. You know, for you to grow an economy, and I want to speak with an authority on this matter, for you to grow an economy, if you have no development activities, either in the rural or in the cities, you will never grow your economy. Economy grows because of the development budget. And when you look at what is happening, Honorable Speaker, it's as if this money, CDF money, goes to our pockets as members of parliament. Far from the truth. It goes to do development. So colleagues who are in leadership
I want to urge you, please separate the executive and parliament matters to do with financing. The budget of parliament is less than 2% of the total budget of this country. It's about 1.02. And I wonder, as you are trying to tell us to keep on waiting and waiting, the ministries are doing their business on a serious note. So are we saying that you don't want members to support the local economies? And I agree with Wagari when she says, the only people who are working is this money, is the money which goes to the people. Governors have their money, and you can see what is happening. We all come from different counties. So please, colleagues, behave as if you are members of parliament and protect the independence of parliament when it comes to matters to do with functions of parliament. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Maclap. Give him a working mic.
I think it's working now. Sit on. So, Speaker, I am shocked to the
You have
bone.
no mic.
Mr. Speaker, I am shocked to the bone marrow from the information given by my neighbor, Honorable Sirma. I am shocked to my bone marrow because he read a statement until he terminated it instantly. Meaning, his neighbor here and neighbor at home, Jepkonga. So, Speaker, truthfully speaking, this is my first time in Parliament. There is a big contradiction between being a member of Parliament and being an executive. So, Speaker, if you read there, it says for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. We are the people who represent the interests of the very poor, the have-nots at home, the hustlers at home, Mr. Speaker. This is the only fund that equalizes Kenya. It doesn't deserve regions of who voted for government, and it doesn't deserve regions. It serves all the people of Kenya. This is the NGCDF and the NGAV, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, this House, going forward, Mr. Speaker, before we appropriate any funds to any ministry, Mr. Speaker, the first charge going forward shall become the NGCDF so that we can be able to sort out the problems of this country. So, Mr. Speaker, I come from a constituency that is suffering from banditry. The children are on my shoulders. I got the first 30, I dispersed it. Now there is nothing. Mr. Speaker, it is a serious matter that Njuguna Ndungu and his treasury mandarins and my chairman here should actually put it as a priority for the nation to release this money this week so that we are able to send children to school, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are 8 months and we still have promises. I want to ask the leadership of this House. Last year, it was an extraordinary year. It was an extraordinary year because there was issues of court and CDF came late. So we cannot compare an extraordinary year and a normal year where we passed appropriation in good time. Why do other ministries receive their exchequer and yet CDF is not getting? Mr. Speaker, we must rise to the occasion and call all members of this House, regardless. Children of Kenya do not belong to Azimio or Kenya Kwanza. They are the children of the nation. They are the future. If we interfere with the future, we shall also interfere with this parliament and we shall interfere with the nation. So, Speaker, we must rise as members and defend the people of Kenya. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Nabii Nabwera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to add my voice on this issue. Mr. Speaker, I don't know how I want to describe that message from the executive. To the best of my knowledge, the chair CDF, the chair CDF committee of this House, this is totally embarrassing, totally unacceptable. You are putting all of our jobs on the line. Where? You are putting our jobs on the line. And my friend, you may not survive it yourself. Because Mr. Speaker, the most heartening thing about this NGCDF lack of disbursement is that the schools in Kenya, instead of receiving 50% of capitation, they received 20. So in a week or two, the schools will not be operating. The day schools will send children home. What will we do with those children? Why are we trying to kill a generation? Mr. Speaker, I want to stand here and confirm that the head of this country stood in my constituency and said the economy has improved. And if the economy has improved, where is the money of CDF? Because the economy has improved. That is the head of state. I find it totally unacceptable that the CS Treasury, who misled the Speaker of this House by making a promise that in 2 months' time we are here, the money has not come. Mr. Speaker, the best thing for this House is, one, to tell the CDF committee to go and camp in the CS Treasury's office. They should leave this House. Waende wadai pesa. Secondly, that there should be no business until there is money released to CDF. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Owen Bayer.
Thank you very much. Actually, like my brother
Moses Sirma, I'll give two, then you respond.
has said that it's actually very difficult at this particular moment to defend government. And CDF cuts across both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. But Honorable Speaker, it's also important, like my brother, Dr. The good doctor on the other side has said, Dr. Makali, the economy needs to grow, and it can only grow through development. And it is on that basis, Honorable Speaker, that I would like to say this, that at this particular point in time, in 2023, and you remember when we went to Mombasa and we had the issues, and when we were, we only had around between 10 and 14 million in our accounts, like the whip has stated. And just like it has been said, the economy has grown. Yes, because right now, we have more money than at that particular time now. If you look at the statistics that we have, we are supposed to have 50 billion for CDF. As we speak now, we have around 9 billion that has been dispersed. The Treasury, in their communication yesterday, has said they will disburse 10 billion shillings a month. And they disbursed in January 10 billion. We are waiting for the disbursement for February, 10 billion. And as they follow up that 10 billion per month, according to their letter, by the time we get to June, they will have disbursed all the 50 billion, and every constituency will have its money. And those are facts. And that is correct. Because if we disburse 10 billion February, 10 billion March, 10 billion April, 10 billion May, 10 billion June, we will have disbursed all the money that is required to be disbursed for NGCDF. And these are facts, and this is the reality. Today, Treasury may not be able to disburse all the money. But this letter that has come in today to Parliament is a commitment that the 10 billion, the 50 billion will be disbursed within the period for which it is required to have been disbursed. Honorable Speaker, we even know how expenditure goes in constituencies. Today, if Opio Wandai is given all his 157 million today, if it is in his account, will he spend it, all of it today? It's not possible. Absorption is not possible. This money must come on a formula. 10 billion every month, what can be managed? But today, if Jared Okello is given all...
Give him a minute.
1 minute.
If all the money is given to him, 100+ billion today, what will he do with it? All of it. It has to be given in phases so that it is useful to the constituencies. Honorable Speaker,
Order.
I want to say this. We must be realistic even when we demand CDF. We must be realistic on the demands that we make. CDF must be paid within the financial year, and it will be paid within the financial year. I rest my case. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Atandi. Order, honorable members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that this matter is very, very serious, and I am ashamed as a member of Parliament when the Honorable Owen Baya is rising on the floor, Honorable Speaker, to defend the Minister for Treasury, who has already lied to this House and misled this House through a communication to you. It is shameful, Honorable Speaker, and Owen Baya, you are the reason this House is disrespected by everybody. This Parliament has no respect because of members like you. How can you stand here to defend Treasury CS, who has misled this House and disparaged the image of the Speaker?
Address your colleagues with decorum. Owen Baya is not on the floor for discussion.
Honorable Speaker.
Talk about CDF.
Honorable Speaker, as I conclude,
Yes.
I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that in addition to CDF, the national government, the executive, has refused to disburse development expenditure which was passed in this House. There is no development that is going on in this country, Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, and every day, members of the executive are all over the country, driving in fuel guzzlers. The president is everywhere, all over the country, is launching non-existent projects. When we know very well that, Madam Honorable Speaker, we pass a budget in this House, there's no development going on. Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, it is a shame that we have a government that is running this country. This country actually should be closed, my Honorable Speaker, because if every day you see the president is all over the country launching non-existent development projects,
Honorable
it is a shame.
Order, there's a point of order from a colleague here.
Honorable Speaker, I stand on relevance because I think the matters pertaining to CTF affects both sides of the House, every member of this House. And it is wrong for Honorable Atandi to discuss the president who is not in this House when it comes to matters of CDF. Please, let's stick to CDF. We discuss about how we want it to be dispersed within our constituency, and more so the statement that was read by Honorable Chair for CDF. With all due respect, Honorable Atandi, let's leave the president out of this.
Indeed, Honorable Atandi, if you listen to the statement from Musa Sirma, there was no mention of the president anywhere. Talk about CDF, how it affects your constituency, and how it should be disbursed. That is the issue on the floor.
Honorable Speaker, thank you. Honorable Speaker, what I was trying to say, Honorable Speaker, is that there's no development going on across the country. CDF included, all the projects that we passed here. We have 4 months to the end of the financial year. And if you walk across the country, there's nothing going on. Staff in ministries are just lazing around. So we have to really get serious. If we want this country to grow, it can't grow by just talking. So government side, you should stop talking and go and work, because you took over power because you had served the country. Yeah, that's the message I'm trying to tell you. You cannot come here and shout here and defend government when there's nothing going on. Yeah.
Today you have changed your sitting position.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Being a first-timer, I feel the name lie should apply in this parliament.
It will
for
not.
The first time.
It will not.
Reason?
Order.
Reason? Okay, I withdraw. But reason, Mr. Speaker, on 3rd of May, we had the Minister for Education, Mr. Machogu, when he came here, he told the women reps on the sanitary pads issue. On 3rd of October, I remember very well, we were told we were going to be given an answer. Till today, the allocation of sanitary pads, which is very paramount to our girls, is less than 1 billion. We are talking of less than 1 billion. This is second month our girls are in school, meaning they are not having their periods. That's why we cannot receive those essential things. As a woman, that is a cycle. You go every month. And when there is change of weather, you can go twice a month. When you eat well, it is a whole month. You can go 3 times, Mr. Speaker. Safe to you if you are pregnant, which we don't encourage our young girls at this particular time. We've not been given any answer, Mr. Speaker. Yet we are told Parliament is the house of order. It is a hallowed house. What are we? What are we, Mr. Speaker? Today is Valentine. Why are women in this house, most of us wearing black? Because women are killed, femicide, everything. So why I stood, Mr. Speaker, is to confirm that what we are told, I don't see why we are substituting, even if it's not a Parliament language, but everything, it looks like it is,
Yes,
Mr. Speaker.
order,
Thank you.
There's a point of order here. Have you finished? Donya, have you finished?
No, she has not. Mr. Speaker.
Order, Chepkonga, there is no disorder. She has finished.
No, she has not finished. She just said she has not. She has confirmed.
She's yielded the floor.
I heard, Mr. Speaker. You know you are very
Go
far
ahead.
from. You know you are very far from her.
Yes. Give him the mic.
Why, Mr. Speaker? I respect Honorable Donya. I would just like her to, decorum requires that you consider the sensitivity of the matter that you are contributing to. 2, we all belong to different communities that are congregated here in this assembly. Some of the things are not said when in the midst of elders, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, there are children that are watching, they are boys. Boys are not told such kind of things at an infant age. And even my culture, Mr. Speaker, and I'm talking about my culture, I'm not talking about your culture, Honorable Samsam. Your culture is different from mine. Even yourself, the one who is shouting, that culture of yours allows you to say such things, but mine does not allow. You can even see the Deputy Speaker is also on a point of order to agree with me.
You have made your point.
What are you talking about? You sit down.
You have made your point.
Honorable Speaker, I want to ask Honorable Chepkonga, who's my MP, to apologize to the women and the girls of this country. There is nothing shameful, there is nothing to hide about having periods. Because Honorable Chepkonga has a wife who had periods, who gave birth, and who got pregnant by him. Yeah,
Order.
so please, there is nothing shameful.
Order.
Nothing shameful.
Order, Deputy Speaker. Order. Honorable Nguna, you are rapidly distinguishing yourself as a major heckler in this house. And it's not a very good reputation. Order, honorable members. Order. I thought you were discussing very serious business. And you are now degenerating into trivia that is not helpful. Women rep of Kilifi.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Nataka kuzungumzia kuhusu pesa za ngafu ambazo ni za uwakilishi wa kike ndani ya bunge. Wabunge wanazungumza kuhusu pesa za NGCDF peke yake. Sisi kama uwakilishi wa kike ndani ya bunge hili tuko katika dau hilo, hatujapata pesa hizi. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi Mbeyu nikiwa kwa mara ya pili ndani ya bunge hili, wanayoyafanya wabunge wa eneo bunge moja tunayafanya sisi zaidi. Kama ni kulipa bursary, kama ni kulipa pesa za full scholarship, mimi Mbeyu unafanya kule Kilifi. Kufikia saa hizi, Mheshimiwa Spika, sijapata pesa zangu za project za NGAF first quarter na second quarter. Sijapata pesa za bursary. Watoto mpaka saa hizi ninazokuambia wamekaa kwa ofisi yangu. Niliwaambia nitawalipia bursary, nitawalipia fee yao ya full scholarship kufikia last week kabla hatujafungua bunge. Akaunti yangu haijaingia pesa. Wakilishi wa kike hapa hawana pesa. Hii serikali yetu ni nini inawatakia kizazi chetu cha watoto ambao ni wakwenda shule? Tuko tukisema elimu kwanza. Mimi pale Kilifi najulikana mama lao, mama G, elimu kwanza ndani ya Kilifi. Sijaweza kutimiza ndoto yangu ya kulipia hawa watoto karo za shule. Ninaonekana mimi ni muongo. Pesa tulizungumza hapa kuhusu sodo, Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiwa hapa, Waziri Machogu akiwa hapa, milioni 470 ambao ni milioni 10 kila jimbo, ni majimbo 47. Hatujaona hizi pesa paka leo. Umeelezewa mambo ya hedhi na wasichana wa kike, wengine wanapata mara 3, mara 4, wengine mara 5. Mheshimiwa Spika, wale wanakula vizuri kwao na si aibu. Nataka kuzungumzia, Mheshimiwa amesema ni aibu. Hakuna aibu ya hedhi ndani ya baba wala mama. Walio hapa ni wazazi wa watoto wa kike. Aibu ya hedhi inatoka wapi? Wao ni mabwana wa mabibi ambao wanapata hedhi. Aibu ya kuzungumzia mambo ya hedhi ndani ya bunge inatoka wapi? Mheshimiwa Spika, tunataka hizi pesa ziweze kutoka, watoto wetu waweze kwenda shule na tuweze kutimiza ndoto yetu ile ya 100% transition, watoto wa Kenya wasome. Asante Mheshimiwa.
Musa Sirma. Order, honorable members. Can you now listen to your chairman?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank all the members who have raised their concerns as concerning NGCDF. First, I would like to reply on the issue of 1 billion for Nairobi from Beatrice Elachi. Part of that amount of 1 billion, which has been brought to CDF, has never been given a special priority. It is part of the big amount of money which have been given to the CDF. The only option now is for us to discuss with the board so that they prioritize that 1 billion for Nairobi so that it is separated as a different entity or different amount of money, which is not the normal disbursement which usually comes. Second, Mr. Speaker, is our minority leader, my good friend.
All the concerns are generic. Don't answer each member in person.
Yes.
Just make a response to the issues raised.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want also to put the fears that this committee of my committee is the worst committee. I want to tell members.
Musa Sirma.
Yes.
Answer 3 issues. Why is there a delay? When is the money being disbursed? Is there going to be any delay thereafter?
Okay.
Whether you
Thank
are
you.
competent or
because
not,
I wanted to put it clear because I inherited a debt of 4.9 billion, and by the end of June last year, I had cleared all the pennies. Mr. Speaker, thank you for that, and I want to say that the National Treasury has committed to pay the 10 billion every month. And I want to take our members back to last year. Last year, the first disbursement we got of 4 billion was done in February, and another 4 billion before the end of February. That made a total of 8 billion by end of February. And Mr. Speaker, by the end of June, including the debt of 4.9 billion, were all paid. And I'm sure members whom we have been talking together last year, those who managed to interact with me, most of them were congratulating me for doing a good job. I don't know what changed. Because they were saying you have done a good job. What has...
Give him the mic. Give him the mic.
I want you to trust me, members, because I never let you down last year, and I will still do the same this year, because it is about disbursement, and I promise you, by end of February, you have 20 billion shillings in your account. And the other of March, that makes 30 billion, and in April, you will have 40 billion, and in May, you will have 50 billion, and the balance of 7 billion will be paid in June. So it is as easy as that. Those are the mathematics which are there. So, Mr. Speaker, all this, it is all about trust. If you trusted me last year, you have a chance of trusting me this year. So I want to ask members, as we move forward, let us move with one spirit, that we have the hope that the future is bright, and our children will get their fees before the end of this month, and therefore we should be able to agree on the issues which we have put forward. And the plans which have been put by the government, Treasury are going to release that money. So, Mr. Speaker, we have commitment letters which we are working with, and therefore let us not refer to the commitment letters which were addressed before. Today we got a commitment, a firm commitment, and I have put it before you members, that you can read that commitment and hold me to it. So, Mr. Speaker, I beg to stop at that.
Honorable members, honorable members, thank you, Musa Sirma. As you know, the chair has no dog in this fight. It is your chair whom you elected who has given you an assurance. Let's give him the benefit of doubt. And I will also, as the leader of the House, as your speaker, exert some soft pressure elsewhere to see if the money can be forthcoming as quickly as possible. Let's now proceed to back to order number 6 and invite Esther Passaris. I had approved a motion of adjournment for you to move, to give notice of your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the Standing Order number 33-1, I rise to seek leave for adjournment of the House to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance in regard to rising femicide in the country. Article 26 of the Constitution provides that every person has the right to life. This right is inalienable and accrues to every person regardless of age, gender, and social status. Sadly, there have been increasing cases of femicide and violence targeting women and girls in Kenya.
Can you give the member some water?
And especially Nairobi County. This is disheartening and goes against the provisions of the law and basic human rights. Honorable Speaker, femicide is not just a crime, but a gendered crime and a violation of human rights. It is noted that the recent cases of femicide are not isolated incidents, but symptoms of a broader issue requiring urgent national solutions. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek leave for the adjournment of the House to discuss this matter of national concern with a view to exploring possible ways of curbing the widespread cases of femicide. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Have the requisite support. Thank you. Order. You have the requisite numbers. You may take your seats, honorable members. Order. Honorable Passaris. Order. Order, members. Members on their feet, take your seats. Order, Owen. Order. Order. Honorable Pasaris, you have the requisite numbers to support your motion of adjournment, and I direct that you will move your motion after order number 14 or at 5, whichever comes earlier. And I'll allocate it 2 hours for debate. Next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, limitation of debate on sessional papers.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, session paper. That pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any sessional paper shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 2.5 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairperson of the relevant committee, if the sessional paper is not moved by the chairperson of the relevant committee, and that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party in that order. Honorable Speaker, I would like to ask the Honorable Jamatia to second.
Mr. Speaker, I second. Thank you.
Order, honorable members. Order. Order. Kisii Women Rep, take your seats. Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any sessional paper shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 2.5 hours, with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant committee if the sessional paper is not moved by the chairperson of the relevant committee. And that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party in that order. I now put the question. Leah, take your seat. Take your seat. I'll now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any sessional paper shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 2.5 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairperson of the relevant committee if the sessional paper is not moved by the chairperson of the relevant committee. And that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party in that order. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, procedural motion, limitation on debate on reports of constitutional commissions and independent offices.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the motion that pursuant to the provision Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in debate on reports of constitutional commissions and independent offices be limited as follows. A maximum of 4 hours with not more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying. A maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that priority be accorded to the chairperson of the relevant committee, the leader of the majority party and leader of the minority party, in that order. Honorable Speaker, I request the women rep for Kericho to second.
Who is
Women rep for
seconding? Kemei?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I second.
Order, Honorable McClub. Honorable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 971, this House orders that each speech in debate on reports of constitutional commissions and independent officers be limited as follows. A maximum of 4 hours with not more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving, 10 minutes in replying, a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that priority be accorded to the chairperson of the relevant committee, the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, in that order. I now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 971, this House orders that each speech in debate on reports of constitutional commissions and independent officers be limited as follows. A maximum of 4 hours with not more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving, and 10 minutes in replying, a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that priority be accorded to the chairperson of the relevant committee, the leader of the majority party, and the leader of the minority party, in that order. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, procedural motion, limitation on debate on the annual estimates and committee of supply.
Next order.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the following motion that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in debate on the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on Budget Estimates contemplated under Standing Order 239 and 240 be limited as follows. A, 1, general supply debate. A maximum of 3 sitting days with 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 15 minutes in replying, a maximum of 15 minutes for each of the chairpersons of the departmental committees, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and the priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the respective chairpersons of the departmental committee in the order that they appear in the second schedule to standing orders. And 2, committee of supply, a maximum of 6 sitting days for the consideration of the proposed allocations to the respective votes or programs in the order specified in the schedule submitted by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. I ask the Honorable Pokose to second.
Honorable Speaker, I second.
Order, honorable members. I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 971, this House orders that each speech in a debate on the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on Budget Estimates contemplated under Standing Orders 239 and 240 be limited as follows. 1, general supply debate. A maximum of 3 sitting days with 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 15 minutes in replying. A maximum of 15 minutes for each of the chairpersons of the departmental committees, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the respective chairpersons of the departmental committees in the order that they appear in the second schedule on the standing orders. 2, Committee of Supply, a maximum of 6 sitting days for the consideration of the proposed allocations to the respective votes and programs in the order specified in the schedule submitted by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Yes, Honorable Milemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and sorry, Honorable Bokose. I think I have some input on this, and I'm not opposed to what has been read and proposed. However, those in charge of those committees that are charged with the responsibility of budget, issues of supply, and so on and so forth, should bring those reports early enough in the House, Honorable Speaker, so that they are actually given enough time for discussion. I remember in the last session, members moved too fast, and by the time they were passing the so-said proposals, later on, that's how members came to you, Honorable Speaker, asking for the CS for transport to come and explain certain things. I think it needs to be given enough time, and those chairmen bring those reports on time so that members and the country understand exactly what we are doing, especially on that issue. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Undo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just to join or echo the sentiments of my colleague, Honorable Mwalimu. Honorable Speaker, Parliament is a house of debate, and more so is given the task of budget making. In the last session of the last year, Honorable Speaker, we have had this tendency of members rising on certain standing order to curtail debate, to an extent that many of the young MPs and the new MPs have not mastered the art and the process and the stages involved in budget making. I do want to urge you, and I want to urge the majority leader and the leadership on that side, and the committee members and any member who's in the Speaker's panel. Let us do justice to the people of Kenya. Let's allow elaborate and adequate debate on any matters that come before this House. Honorable Speaker, there isn't a very good narrative about Parliament outside there. And on many occasions you have been forced to respond to very snide and bad comments about Parliament. It's time now, we have the opportunity, we have the time to right the wrongs. And I want to urge the leadership on the majority side, allow debate to flourish so that Kenyans can see and feel their Parliament at work. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Undo. Honorable members, before I put the question, allow me to acknowledge in the Speaker's gallery Othaya Boys School, I believe, from Othaya constituency in Nyeri. On my own behalf and on your behalf, I welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. I now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on the report of the Budget and the Appropriations Committee on Budget Estimates, contemplated under Standing Orders 239 and 240, be limited as follows. General supply debate, a maximum of 3 sitting days with 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 15 minutes in replying. A maximum of 15 minutes for each of the chairpersons of the departmental committees and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except that the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each. And that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the respective chairpersons of the departmental committees in the order that they appear in the second schedule to the standing orders. And 2, the Committee of Supply, a maximum of 6 sitting days for the consideration of the proposed allocations to the respective votes and programs in the order specified in the schedule submitted by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Thank you. Sorry, as members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable Buyer and the Chair of Budget, you've heard the sentiments of members. Bring the reports early for members to be able to go through. And we assure you, Honorable Undo, that the Chair does not truncate debate. It's entirely up to the House. When the House, through any member, moves a closure, the only avenue available to the Chair is to put it to the House. If the House says truncate the debate, it's truncated. If you reject it, you go on. So always, if you feel there's inadequacy of debate, marshal your members to reject any truncating of debates. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 11, procedural motion, limitation on debate on consideration of Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to encourage first Honorable Oundo that we agreed in the morning to follow your guidance on candor and banter.
Yes.
And therefore, we will go by that to ensure that debate flourishes in this chamber and that members can see and your constituents can see that you're doing what they elected you to do. So we promise that this side we will not truncate debate. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move the following motion that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 146, consideration of Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, be limited as follows. A maximum of 1 hour and 30 minutes with not more than 15 minutes for the mover in moving, 15 minutes for the chairpersons of the relevant departmental committee, and 5 minutes of any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, if the bill is not party-sponsored, and that 5 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairpersons of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Honorable Speaker, I request the Honorable Junaid Mohammed to second.
Mr. Speaker, I stand to second, but I wanted to say also that, Mr. Speaker, the 5 minutes, normally, because of the interest that is shown always by members in the debate, so normally sometimes reduced to 3 minutes, 2 minutes. So I know it's because of the interest, not because of the speaker, that's shown by many members who want to speak to it. But let's see if we can increase the time on that bill, the time of debating, the period that the bill still stays in the House for debating. But otherwise, I second, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Junaid, before I propose the question, you know, in comparable jurisdictions, you as the whips, when you have such technical debates on motions such as budget, appropriations, is within your competence as the whips to actually give the speaker a few of your preferred sharpshooters who can articulate issues. The leader of majority can approach the chair and say, on this particular issue, our best economists to articulate the issues include so and so, so and so. We'll still give others, but we also abide by your opinions as whips. On your side also, if you have people who have better knowledge and schooling in economics, in accounts, and in matters relating to budget, the chairs will always give you priority to give 1 or 2, 3 well-schooled members who can then give better opinions to the House to inform debate. So it's entirely up to you also to decide how you assist the chair, so that once you have all those that you prefer, and don't bring lists of your friends, bring lists of people who add value to debate. Then thereafter, we can limit to 2 minutes to each other member to complement what your sharpshooters have already placed on the floor. This is done in the House of Commons, everywhere in Australia, in Canada, in the entire Commonwealth jurisdiction. So it's not strange to this country. I'm not proposed the question. I was just guiding Honorable Junet in his lamentation. Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 971, the House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 146, consideration of Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, be limited as follows. A maximum of 1 hour and 30 minutes with not more than 15 minutes for the mover and moving, 15 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee, and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party if the bill is not party-sponsored, and at 5 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further, that the priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. I put the question? Yes, Honorable Pukose and KJ, you'll follow.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just wanted to remind my colleagues, Honorable Undo, that as much as the House is for debate, but we have a legislative role that we must also play. That at various stages, there is a bill when it is maybe in the second reading where we need to be able to debate it. Then you have a stage where you have the committee of the whole House when we are supposed to be legislating. So we should also be able to understand and give preference in as far as at times when when we move under Standing Order 95, that the mover be called to reply, or that kind of thing, that to bring the debate to an end. Because we also want to be able to make that law into place. And at times, even time might be running out. So there are all many other considerations. And we'll ask that both our sides, we are able to listen to each other, we are able to debate, and be able to defend our positions. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
KJ?
Mr. Speaker, I truly thank you, and I take this opportunity to wish you a Happy New Year, and also congratulate you and the Clerk of the National Assembly for amazing work that happened in this Parliament during the recess. That said, Mr. Speaker, I'm standing to support this procedural motion because this is one of the opportunities that this House gets to showcase its prowess, even against its sister chamber, which is the Senate, where you served, Mr. Speaker. Whenever Senate returns some amendments to this House, these debates are normally so critical, Mr. Speaker, because at that point, this House is able to showcase its level of debate, its level of transaction of business, and able to even showcase itself as the true upper house of this bicameral parliament, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, the big observation that I needed to make is that this afternoon is a perfect example of how you end up being appropriated issues that are not concerned to your chair. This is a day that we are making procedural motions and dictating how much time we are allocating to specific motions. But you can see how the parliament is populated, how the chamber is populated. And later on in the session, we shall get into problems with members of parliament appropriating some responsibilities that do not belong to the chair to you, Mr. Speaker, saying that you're appropriating time. But when the business was being conducted, these members were actually not in chamber. So, Mr. Speaker, it is again calling upon the whips of this House to actually whip the members of the different parties, Mr. Speaker, so that they are present when very serious business is happening, up to and including, Mr. Speaker, what looks like mundane business, like procedural motions, up to and including, Mr. Speaker, what we call the omnibus bills, where we suffer quorum hitches because of mobilization of members to participate in very important debate. Mr. Speaker, I support the procedural motion. I'm okay with the time appropriated. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Great. I now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 146, consideration of Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, be limited as follows: a maximum of 1 hour and 30 minutes, with not more than 15 minutes for the mover in moving, 15 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee, and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party if the bill is not party-sponsored, and that 5 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. As many as of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 12, procedural motion, consideration of business received during the recess periods.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 41 and 42 relating to conveying of messages from the Senate and from their President of the National Executive, Standing Orders 120, 122, and 126 relating to publications, procedure upon publication and first reading of bills, and Standing Order 210-2 relating to tabling of statutory instruments, this House orders that during the short and long recess of the third session, 1, upon receipt of any message from the Senate or upon receipt of any name of a person nominated for appointment to a state or public office from the President or any other office in the National Executive, the Speaker shall forthwith refer such messages to the relevant committee for consideration without having to recall the House and report such fact to the House on resumption. 2, upon receipt of any message relating to the Senate's amendment to a bill originating in the National Assembly, the Speaker shall forthwith refer the schedule of the Senate amendment to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 145, Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such fact to the House on resumption. 3, should a bill be published during the said period, or a published bill become due for first reading, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill and following a determination that such bill is of priority, forthwith refer such bill to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 127, Committal of Bills to Committees and Public Participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting, and the second reading may be taken forthwith or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4, should any statutory instruments be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, Speaker shall, following a determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting in accordance with the provision of Section 2 of the Statutory Instruments Act number 3 of 2013. And 5, should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting. Honorable Speaker, I think this is very clear. It concerns issues that are brought to the House when we're in recess or we are on any other, when the House is not sitting. And therefore, the procedure is laid down very, very clearly. And I would like to request the Honorable Junet Mohammed, the whip, long-serving whip of the minority, to second.
Mr. Speaker, as I second, I wanted to bring to your attention, Mr. Speaker, this procedural motion was introduced to this House I think the year 2014 or 15 there, I was here. Mr. Speaker, it was basically to make the work of the executive easy. Because that time, Mr. Speaker, as you remember, as a long-serving member of parliament, you know that vetting of appointments never used to happen before the new constitution came into place. So a time arose when appointments were made when we are either in short recess or long recess or those kind of things. Then the executive felt that parliament is wasting their time. So they persuaded parliament to do this kind of procedural motion. But Mr. Speaker, as you know very well, we also have the provision in the standing order of a special sitting. If something is so important and so urgent, we have a provision in the standing order that says the House can be reconvened by the Speaker. So if there are one or two appointments that are of important and urgent in nature, there is no harm in reconvening the House to come and sit and deliver. Because the issue of appointments coming through the Speaker and the Speaker doing it in communication, Mr. Speaker, doing the communication on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker, I was saying the issue of the appointment.
I was listening, go on.
Yeah, coming through the Speaker and the communications being made on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker, carries its own weight, Mr. Speaker. Then when those documents and papers are just committed to committees silently, and then later we come, Mr. Speaker, in spite of all those lamentations, I second.
Thank you, Honorable Junet. It's within your competence to revisit the standing orders and revert to whatever you prefer. But for now, I propose the question that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 41 and 42 relating to conveyance of messages from the Senate and from the President or the National Executive, Standing Order 120, 122, and 126 relating to publication, procedure upon publication, and first reading of bills, and Standing Order 210-2 relating to tabling of statutory instruments, this House orders that during the short and long recess of the third session, 1, upon receipt of any message from the Senate or upon receipt of any name of a person nominated for appointment to a state or public office from the President or any other office in the National Executive, the Speaker shall forthwith refer such message to the relevant committee for consideration without having to recall the House and report such fact to the House on resumption. 2, upon receipt of any message relating to the Senate's amendment to a bill originating in the National Assembly, the Speaker shall forthwith refer the schedule of the Senate amendments to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 145, Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such fact to the House on resumption. 3, should a bill be published during the said period, or a published bill become due for first reading, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill, and following a determination that such bill is of priority, forthwith refer such a bill to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 127, Committal of Bills to Committees and Public Participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting, and the second reading may be taken forthwith, or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4, should any statutory instruments be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting in accordance with the provision of Section 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act number 3 of 2013. And 5, should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following the determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting. Robert Mbui.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support this procedural motion, but I wanted to point out one matter here on part 4, the one on statutory instruments. Mr. Speaker, it's important to note that regulatory making authorities that make regulations pursuant to the bills that we pass in the House, sometimes within the statutory instruments, within the gazettement, may even be imposing charges on the general population. And so I've noticed it has been a tendency sometimes for the executive to wait just before the House goes on the recess is when they publish some of these very, I would say, punitive regulations. And Mr. Speaker, the danger would face is that if we go on a recess of 2 months, is that then these, the imposition of these levies or fees would proceed, because the minute the gazettement takes place, already the regulations become law. Until the Committee on Delegated Legislation of the House is seized of the matter and deliberates on it, and in case the committee decides that they are too punitive and have to be annulled, then they would have to wait until the House sits. That's when they would present them. So I feel that everything else makes a lot of sense, but we may also be careful that we don't now allow the executive to make laws, collect taxes for, or levies for 2 months, and then a House makes a decision when already, you can say the horses have bolted. So I support, but I think it's important to figure out how to handle that part on statutory instruments. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Owen?
Honorable Speaker, I think it's what Honorable Mbui has raised is very important. And I think we saw a flagrant of statutory instruments being put out there during the long recess. And I think as a House we need to, because nobody can make law apart from Parliament, and we think we need to put that. But having said that, I think we have a great opportunity because the statutory law amendment bill is coming in. I think it will be read first reading today without any debate. But it's important that those things are captured so that we can actually stamp our authority in terms of lawmaking as Parliament. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
When by the leadership, you should advise all government departments, ministries, and statutory bodies that they have no capacity to turn anything into law until and unless it has passed through this House. Even this number 4 simply says once it comes here, it still remains a proposal until it's processed through the committee, brought to the floor, and adopted by the House. That's when it becomes a legal instrument with a force of law. And besides that, if then there are any other issues like taxation, levies, and whatever, the committees must do their work and sieve them out. I can now put the question. Honourable members, I now put the question that notwithstanding the provision of Standing Order 41 and 42 relating to conveying of messages from the Senate and from the President or the National Executive, Standing Orders 120, 122, and 126 relating to publication, procedure upon publication and first reading of bills, and Standing Order 210, 2 relating to tabling of statutory instruments, this House orders that during the short and long recess of the 3rd session, 1, upon receipt of any message from the Senate or upon receipt of any name of a person nominated for appointment to a state or public office from the President or any other office in the National Executive, the Speaker shall forthwith refer such message to the relevant committee for consideration without having to recall the House and report such fact to the House on resumption. 2, upon receipt of any message relating to the Senate's amendment to a bill originating in the National Assembly, the Speaker shall forthwith refer the schedule of the Senate amendments to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 145, Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such fact to the House upon resumption. 3, should a bill be published during the said period or a published bill become due for first reading, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill and following a determination that such bill is a priority, forthwith refer such a bill to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 127, Committal of Bills to Committees and Public Participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting, and the second reading may be taken forthwith or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4, Should any statutory instruments be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following the determination that the statutory instruments is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting in accordance with the provisions of Section 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act number 3 of 2013. And 5, should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 13, procedural motion, limitation on debate on legislative proposals to amend the Constitution.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 1147A and B, consideration of the legislative proposal to amend the Constitution be limited as follows. A maximum of 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, 15 minutes for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party if the proposal is not party-sponsored, members with similar or related proposals and the chairperson of the relevant department committees, and 10 minutes for any other member speaking, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairpersons of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Honorable Speaker, I request that I ask Dr. Mutunga to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, constitutional amendment is a very key issue in this country, and I believe the way the time has been apportioned is crucial because it will allow most of the members to contribute. Therefore, I second.
Honourable members, I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 1147AB, consideration of a legislative proposal to amend the Constitution, be limited as follows. A maximum of 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, 15 minutes for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party if the proposal is not party-sponsored, members with similar or related proposals and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee, and 10 minutes for any other member speaking, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Now put the question. Before I put the question, honorable members, allow me to acknowledge in the speaker's gallery, seated in the upper echelon, believe these are students from PCEA Mitahato Secondary School, Githunguri, Kiambu. On my behalf and on behalf of the House, I welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. I now put the question, which is that, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 1147AB, consideration of a legislative proposal to amend the Constitution, be limited as follows. A maximum of 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, 15 minutes for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party if the proposal is not party-sponsored, members with similar or related proposals and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee, and 10 minutes for any other member speaking, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 14, the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 3 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Statutory Instruments Act.
Next order. Esther Passaris, we are now at order 14. I now give you the opportunity to move your motion of adjournment. I've allocated it 2 hours, which means you will, if you have enough support, it will go on up to 6:15. Thereafter, we'll go on to the next order. So you may move your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I move the motion, can I please ask the House to stand up for a moment of silence for the over 500 women who have died as a result of femicide? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, more and more cases of femicide are being reported in Kenya, with at least 500 women being murdered in Kenya in a span of 6 years. In January 2024 alone, over 10 cases of femicide were reported, and not all perpetrators have been brought to account yet. The failure by the government to hold the perpetrators accountable has led to a culture of impunity and impedes deterrence. Femicide violates Kenya's women's fundamental constitutional and human rights to life and the freedom from violence. The government of Kenya, through the State Department of Gender and Affirmative Action, must address the discriminatory norms that underpin such violence and send a clear message that femicide will not be tolerated. Honorable Speaker, it is incumbent on the government of Kenya to implement Articles 26 and 29 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the protocols to the Africa Charter on Human and People's Rights and on the Rights of Women in Africa, Maputo Protocol, and the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women, to ensure women and girls are safe and free from all forms of gender-based violence. Honorable Speaker, while Kenya government agencies have made various commitments and pledges, few have been followed by concrete action that end the surge of femicide in the country. Kenyan members of parliament are calling on key actors to prioritize investigation and prosecution of cases of gender-based violence. We also call on the Director of Criminal Prosecution to keep the public updated on the ongoing probe and share information on perpetrators who have been arrested. The judiciary must also expedite the hearing and discrimination of the cases to ensure access to justice for survivors of attempted suicide. Honorable Speaker, therefore, as the world marks Valentine's Day today, women parliamentarians join other human rights organizations in the Dark Valentine campaign in the remembrance of all the lives lost as a result of femicide. As at 14th February 2024 this year, lost 13 beautiful souls to femicide. The number 13 is not just statistics. These are our daughters, sisters, mothers, and more importantly, human beings killed, murdered, and butchered in the most inhumane way. Starlet Wahu, age 26, location South B, Nairobi, date of murder, January 3rd. Harriet Mora, location Katoloni, Machakos, date of murder, January 8th. Stella Odongo, age 21, location Bondo, Siaya, date of murder, January 11th. Bridget Ochieng, location Nyakach, Kisumu, date of murder, January 22nd. Sarah Wairuru, age 47, location Kiruga, Nyeri, date of murder, January 18th. Sarah, age 45, location Kilai, Narok, date of murder, January. Assumpta Wanjiru, age 30, location Nyandarua, date of murder January 16th. Rita Waini, age 20, location Roysambu, Nairobi, date of murder January 14th. Nervin Musetti, age 28, location Langata, Nairobi, date of murder January 11th. Grace Wangari, age 24, location Githurai, Kiambu, date of murder January 21st. Queen, age 25, location Magarini, Kilifi, date of murder January 14th. Rachel Wambui Joroge, age 55, location Gatundu, Kiambu, date of murder January 21st. Maureen Achieng, location Bondo Siaya, date of murder January 3rd. Honorable Speaker, on 27 January 2024, we held an annual national protest demanding an end to this scourge. To put this into perspective, statistics show that out of 546 deaths by femicide, in the recent years, 241 of the perpetrators were husbands, 130 boyfriends. Women are being killed, murdered, and butchered by people they at first instant thought they were safe with. Honorable Speaker, the case of Kevin Kangethe, who murdered his girlfriend in the USA and left USA for Kenya, got traced in Kenya, was arrested and taken to the police station. At the police station, he escaped and has now been rearrested. Again, clearly points to the lack of seriousness in the handling of femicide perpetrators. A society is judged by how it treats the marginalized and most vulnerable. Women in this country undergo many challenges, and it is imperative and we demand that women must be treated right. We are unapologetically demanding that women's dignity must be upheld and women's lives in the country matter. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, we therefore demand that the Ministry of Interior issues a status report on all cases of femicide and investigations that have been concluded and the perpetrators who have faced the law in court. That the President makes a declaration issued on violence against women and femicide as a national crisis. That an executive order be issued on zero tolerance to violence against women and femicide. That all political parties initiate disciplinary action against its members who make misogynistic statements and statements supporting and inciting and encouraging violence against women and femicide, as well as those accused of the same. That there may be responsible and less sensational reporting from media houses on femicide and violence against women. Viewer discretion in the release of unnecessary violent details and images must be adhered to. We demand dignity even in death for victims of femicide. We encourage media houses to engage feminist experts to help them improve reporting practices. Women are more than half of their viewership. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And with that, I would like now to call the Honorable South MP, Karoli Omondi, to second the motion. Thank you.
I thought members are simply debating on the points, but you may proceed, Karoli Omondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I think I stand to contribute to this motion for the simple fact that men should also be counted at this particular time. If we leave it purely to our sister colleagues, it would look like this nation, the males don't care. Honorable Speaker, the distinction between femicide and the other typical acts of violence against women is the gender content, where a crime is committed against a particular woman or women because of gender considerations by the perpetrator of those violent acts. And it is important that we understand where this comes from so that probably we address it in a very detailed manner. I think it is more a factor of patriarchy. If you study the gender that constitutes femicide, the violence that constitutes femicide, it is, as my sister Esther said, mainly by those closest and dearest
to the victims, the in-laws, the husbands, their boyfriends, sometimes their brothers, when there are disputes within the family. And this is a function of patriarchy. And we live in societies that, though our constitution recognizes our culture and Article 11 as the cumulative civilization that we have built over the years, we still have cultural norms and practices that are the same constitution recognizes as repugnant to justice and morality. We have concentrated power in the hands of men. We have built cultural institutions that exclude women in decision-making. We have promoted cultural practices and norms that give dominance of men the standing that we have. And we've excluded our women from means of economic empowerment, tools that they can use to give themselves freedom, land, education, and the rest of them. I think this is the genesis of some of these very grotesque acts we see against our women. And I think it is important that we come together as a nation, be it in families, in churches, in schools, and preach against cultural norms that are used to downgrade, to depress, to oppress, to suppress our women. And I think we should not be shy about it, whether we are uncomfortable with those truths, but it is patriarchy that is promoting some of these grotesque acts that we have. I would also like to urge this House that we come together and find a way of working on a bipartisan manner so as to put certain mechanisms. We should have a national register of all persons who have been convicted of gender-based violence crimes. And that should be the first point of call. It should give us a warning, as a signal, as to who is likely to commit a femicide. We should also go and strengthen international cooperation. The case of this gentleman who has recently been rearrested and is awaiting deportation to America clearly demonstrates. And those of you who are old enough, you will remember in the old days how a lot of our women were killed by soldiers, foreign soldiers who used to come and take holiday in Mombasa. They used to just murder them and get away with it. And I think we need to strengthen international cooperation mechanisms to deal with this. At this particular time, we need to call upon the DCI, the National Police Service, to refocus their gender-based violence desks, also to strengthen their capacity to investigate cases of femicide. And also the office of the DPP to prosecute these cases without delay. Yeah, I think many of them take too long, many of them go unpunished, and people are beginning to develop a sense of impunity. And the judiciary also to come out very, very strongly and support all efforts in this particular direction. With those few remarks, I support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Leah Sankaire.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Passaris, for bringing that motion into the floor of the House. And Madam Speaker, I think it's about time we started talking about femicide, not as a women issue, but an issue of national importance. Madam Speaker, it is sad when you hear of the statistics of the girls that have so far lost their lives in the triangle of love. And Madam Speaker, it will be wrong for us to be quiet in the National Assembly. It is good for us to raise our voices and ask very critical questions surrounding the mysterious deaths of our girls. Madam Speaker, I am also requesting that the issues of femicide and this issue stops being an issue of women. Let us make it an issue of the whole society. These girls are being killed, and you know the people that are killing them are also our children. And so it's about time that we started addressing this issue holistically. And the first and foremost thing that I would like to speak about is on the issue of reporting. Madam Speaker, it is sad that we've heard of the statistics today. We have seen the number of children that has lost their lives, but unfortunately, none of the perpetrators has been brought to books. Every single day and every day, we just hear of us being told that we are looking for the perpetrators, we will bring them into books, and Madam Speaker, justice delayed is justice denied. It is sad that we are burying our children, and burying these beautiful girls whose their future was actually bright, and you're burying them, and the saddest thing, Madam Speaker, is that we are burying them and there is no perpetrator that is brought into books. It is heartening to the families, it is heartening to the society to see your child going down, but the person that committed that crime is still out there. Madam Speaker, with the trend that is, with the current trend that is going on, we may be having serial killers going around the country and around the villages. Because if you kill someone today, they are buried and no action is taken, you kill another one tomorrow, you will have the power to do so because nobody follows you up. And so we want to call upon the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government, Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, the Inspector General, IG, the Director of Public Prosecution, to issue a statement on these pertinent issues that we are raising today. Madam Speaker, I was hoping that in the last 1 week or last 2 weeks, we would have had people arraigned in court. But unfortunately, there is no one that has been arraigned in court. They keep telling us that they are carrying out investigations. Some of these cases, Madam Speaker, does not require rocket science to determine who actually committed them. And so we call upon them to issue statements. We call upon them to join hands with the female members of the National Assembly and the men here today supporting us in this issue of femicide. Madam Speaker, the issue of security is a fundamental right to every Kenyan. And it is wrong for us women to walk around feeling insecure. As much as we have responsibility of taking care of security within ourselves, but it's a right to every Kenyan to enjoy security. When it comes to reporting, Madam Speaker, it is so sad that every time these people go and report the cases, they are asked several questions and you're left wondering, is there really a right to security in this country? Madam Speaker, when you walk into a hospital today and you're sick, you go and seek medical attention. I don't think the doctor would ask you why you're sick of malaria. I don't think the doctor would ask you why you contracted this disease. But it's unfortunate that some of these perpetrators has been reported once, not twice, not thrice, but nothing has happened. We want to ask that from today, let reporting be taken as important as any other issue in this country. When you go to report, you have the right to report. You are not asked what hour of the night you are out, what kind of dressing you are dressed on, because men should also be cultured enough to know that even when women dress, they do not dress for them. It is their dress, their choice.
Let her complete her sentence. She's the chairperson of KEWOP.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And so I'm concluding by saying, let us have security reporting desks be also friendly to women, because some women are raped, and every time they go to report, they're asked what kind of dress they are wearing, they're asked what hour of the night they were raped. Those are irrelevant questions, Madam Speaker. I think it's about time that we allowed women to report on these cases, because that is what is making the perpetrators take advantage of them. We also want to ask the Cabinet Secretary to make sure that in these reporting desks, they have educated officers who knows how to handle the issues of women. Some of these issues are so delicate, some of these issues are heartbreaking, and so when you go and report and the first question you are asked is how you were dressed, Madam Speaker, it is like denying the person the justice that they are seeking in that quarter. And with that, Madam Speaker, I fully support this debate, and I ask our fellow colleagues and everyone in this House to rise up and let us stand against femicide. It may be happening to women, but remember you're a parent, remember you're a father, remember that these children belong to us, and so we need to make sure that our children in this country are secure. And not only children, even women, because gender-based violence is on the rise. We are also saying that gender-based violence, we are not just talking about femicide. we have so many other forms of gender violence to women. Even cyberbullying is a form of gender violence to women, and we must stand up and talk about them. We must give women secure platforms to operate from. We must make sure that the women of this country feel secure. We must make sure that our children feel secure. And we must also make sure that there is freedom in loving, and there is freedom in exercising your right to love. And so, Madam Speaker, thank you very much. And I hope that everybody in this house will stand with us today. We are all dressed up in black because we are celebrating a dark Valentine where love is no longer love, it has become a deathbed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, honorable members. If I just seek your indulgence to allow the chairperson of the Finance Committee, we interrupt the session, allow him to lay some urgent papers, and then we shall continue back on this particular motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, the 14th of February, 2024. The report on the Joint Committee on the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning, and that of Housing, Urban Planning and Public Works on its consideration of the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 of 2023. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Lomboko Milema, member for Emuhaya. And if you can make your statements brief so that more members, as many members as possible, can be able to speak
Honorable Speaker,
on this matter of national importance.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll be very brief on behalf of myself and the people of Emuhaya. Let me stand with the leadership and also with all the women and girls who lost their life. It has been very sad, and especially January, Honorable Speaker, where we lost more than 10 cases were reported of women and girls who were killed. Let me thank Honorable Passaris for bringing this matter to the House so that we may pronounce ourselves on the issues concerning femicide and disabuse of our women. This matter, Honorable Speaker, does not only concern the women of this country, but concerns the family, the men, and every member of the society in Kenya. That we are doing very badly according to statistics as we were given. The number of femicide cases are rising, and in the world they have gone to 48,000. In Kenya it's more than 500. The figures are doing very badly insofar as Kenya is concerned. I would want to ask all those who are institutions, not only political parties as we have been told, but those who are in government offices, those who are in organizations, including Parliament itself, to pronounce itself on a statement of discrediting and condemning femicide in this country. A sad case which I watched during the holidays when we were under recess was the girl who was beheaded. And when we did our own walk around, we realized that that was a girl from a very poor family.
what happened to our security forces? Yes, I know people will start saying the women, but honestly, this is love. Nobody is pushing the other. Why would you do that? So for me, Mr. Speaker, the most worrying thing is that we must go back to the judiciary and request the judiciary, Mr. Speaker, that if we have a case of someone who has raped, someone who has murdered, honestly, you don't need to give a bail to this person, because the moment you go back, and when I was listening to Lilian, Mheshimiwa, she is crying that we have someone who has just walked out of the cells, is now back in the village, and even the body is not yet buried of this woman. So you can imagine, Mr. Speaker, what this guy is saying, that he is okay, he is in control. There's nothing you can do. After all, he has gone to the cells of Homa Bay, and now he's back in the streets of Homa Bay, walking so gently without disregarding completely the fear he has just put to many of the members of that family that is mourning, but more importantly, just to imagine that we can be here listening. I want to request the CS internal security that in Homa Bay, since we have this case now, and they know the people, they know the chief, can first the chief be suspended, put aside for them to understand that case. Mr. Speaker, I would humbly also request that it is time the leadership to talk about it. Keeping quiet sends a very chilling fear in the country. It is important for them to raise a voice. And that voice will help for people to realize there are things that are happening that is wrong. We have given people, I want to finalize by just saying, as much as we have agreed people to walk into our airport, we have not told them to come and mayhem our girls because of what they want to achieve in their witchcrafts or any other things they are thinking. They want bodies, because you cannot just mayhem and cut somebody's head if you are not a witchcraft or a witch going to use it for your witchcraft, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I beg to support, and I really cry for the women of this country, and more importantly, please.
The Honorable Kimani.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance to add my voice to this discussion. And from the onset, I'd like to congratulate the County Member of Parliament for Nairobi, the Honorable Esther Passaris, for bringing this particular motion today. Honorable Speaker, it is disheartening, it is very painful that we have the men who should be the protectors of the society are the ones who are killing women. Even in war, Honorable Speaker, women were never killed. If you study the wars, even in the stories in the Bible, there is no time that people killed women and children. So the fact that in 2024 we have men who, if you look at them on the road, you'll think they have sane mind, or you might respect them on the road, taking this heinous action of this injustice on women is truly, truly, truly sad. And Honorable Speaker, if you listen to some of the arguments made, including on social media, saying, oh, the lady, for example, ate your money, they ate your transport money, so you send money for transport, they did not come. You are a fool to have sent money to someone for them to come. Because even this thinking, Honorable Speaker, that sex is only enjoyed by men is so false. If she wants to have sex, she is going to enjoy it too. And therefore, there is no reason why you should spend your money for someone who doesn't want to come to you. And the irony also, Honorable Speaker, if you listen to many women, they're saying men are not there to love them. They are saying the ratio between those who are in relationships and married and those who are not is actually not equal. So the excuse that men give that it is the woman on the wrong, she was wearing the wrong dress, she was walking alone at night, she took herself, is all lame excuses. And we must call them as it is and condemn it and say this nonsense must stop, Honorable Speaker. But even when we say that, we must address inequalities that exist. If we have young girls who have to sleep with men to have sanitary towels, then that's why even some of these problems start. Because for the voices of women to be heard, for something as basic as sanitary towel to our girls in secondary schools and primary school, we have to beg for it. They have to beg for it. Last session, the women of this house was paralyzed the house because money that was supposed to be allocated for sanitary towels for schools had not got there. So we have money to give condoms in public places, but we don't have money for sanitary towels for our girls. That's where the problem begins, Honorable Speaker. When women dare to run for politics, for example, Honorable Speaker, that's when the problem gets. We start asking them, who is your husband? Who have you slept with? Even when you find a lady in a lucrative office, you think that she must have slept with somebody for her to get to that office. And once we begin changing this story and this narrative and seeing women as competent people who can do so many things and they're able to do so many other things that men are not able to do, then we are going to have a conversation and a change in mind and heart. Yes, we have very many brilliant, in fact, if you will take even the mere ability of a woman to multitask and do so many things at the same time. You know, the women who here seated in this house, sometimes we stay with them here up to late, and some of them are expected to still go home and prepare meals for their husbands. You know, and this day when you're celebrating a love. So let us begin by a change in attitude, in attitude that women can be in positions of office, elected or appointed. They can work in any office, in any profession, by merit, and not because they're so-and-so's girlfriend or they're sleeping so-and-so. And once we have that change of mindset and provide these basic facilities that we need to provide, for example, sanitary towels, then you're going to see a change in heart. And lastly, as Honorable, as the Minority Whip said, those that kill women, those that hurt women, those that slap women, those that beat them are cowards. If you really want to beat somebody, go get a man your match and beat him up if you want to prove a point. With that, I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. The Honorable Donya Doris. She in the house? No. We are just following our own queue here. So next is the Honorable Jonathan Ngeno. Not in the house. Clear for me the list. So next is the Honorable Zamzam Chimba. Oh, sorry. Order. I did not know the Honorable Johanna was in the house. Proceed, Johanna, and then you'll come later. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also wish to add my voice to this sad situation that has been happening in our country. I think it is the first time in the history of our country when people who I really do not understand, Mr. Speaker, it's like a cult of individuals who, I don't know, they think they derive something from the death, cruel death of young children, young ladies. Mr. Speaker, I really wish to thank Mheshimiwa Passaris, who is also in my committee, belongs to my committee, for bringing this particular topic and this issue so that the Kenyan people can understand, most importantly, that, and who also supported, who supported, Mr. Speaker, the issue of standing with ladies and women of this country, Mr. Speaker. That shows she's a very great lady who thinks widely and who cares about their daughters or her daughter. Mr. Speaker, I also have daughters. And when I see young women being killed, young women being exploited, young women done all sorts of manner of things, Mr. Speaker. I feel that something should be done in this country. Like what my colleagues have said, we saw some few years ago about deaths, cruel deaths of young ladies, like Chelele from Bomet, like Monica, like even the woman who was from Migori, who was expectant, Sharon. When you hear how she died, Mr. Speaker, you know, sometimes even there are some deaths which you can imagine how cruel or how long that death comes. You know, sometimes you feel that if you must die, you die in such a way that the time for death is so short. But you can imagine how Sharon must have felt through that moment when somebody is driving a knife on her stomach. Mr. Speaker, and then the latest, where a lady, somebody is dismembering somebody. I don't know if he dismembered that lady when she was still alive, cutting a piece of her hand, a piece of her leg, and then now approaching the head. Mr. Speaker, I don't know what kind of punitive measures. And when I saw, I must thank the lady judge who gave a ruling that put somebody behind bars. Mr. Speaker, I don't know why. Of course, they say the law is a nurse. Why would you even give a murderer bail or bond? These are people who are supposed to stay behind bars for as long as the case is ongoing, until it is determined. But of course, you know, we have a constitution that gives people the right to have the right to bail and the right to come and stay around, hang around, kill witnesses, threaten witnesses. But Mr. Speaker, on this case of ladies being killed, I don't know what kind of punitive measures we should. I think, apart from even the Constitution itself, as members of Parliament, we need to give serious and punitive measures against these killers. You know, when you read the case of rape and defilement, Mr. Speaker, for those of us who know this law, the case of defilement is a little bit weaker than even the case of rape. And defilement is on children, young children below 18 years. Then you wonder, why are you giving somebody who defile young children below 18 years such an understanding? So, Mr. Speaker, I think as members of this House, and I wish Mheshimiwa Passaris and the rest of the ladies in this House, including Mheshimiwa Beatrice, the great woman from Kericho, bring a law here that anybody who does anything wrong, defiling or killing a young lady, or a lady for that matter, should not be given any bail. They should rot in the police cells so that people can understand the morality and how to live in this world.
You made your point. Proceed, Honorable Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi kama mama kaunti wa Mombasa niweze kutoa mchango wangu. Mheshimiwa Spika, inasikitisha sana hata baada ya taifa hili kupata uhuru, kina mama wa taifa hili bado hawana uhuru. Kina mama wanauliwa usiku na mchana. Sote tunajua mama ni pambo la ndoa, mama ni pambo la mwanamume, mama ni pambo la ndani ya nyumba. Mama ndio ambaye ndio mlezi. Sisi kina mama ndio tunaoshika mimba, tunakula udongo, tunakula matope, tunatapika, tunapitia hali yote ile duni ili kuweza kuzaa mtoto ambaye pengine ni mtoto wa kiume. Inasikitisha Mheshimiwa Spika, leo mama anadhalilika katika taifa hili. Na kusikitika zaidi ni kuwa hata waziri ambaye ni waziri wa usalama hajatoka kuzungumzia mambo haya yanayotendeka. Na mimi napenda hata tuweze kumuita ndani ya bunge hili aweze kutuambia visa hivi ambavyo vimetokea, watoto wetu wa kike wameuliwa. Tumesikia story ya Sharon, ilitugusa sisi sote. Juzi Mombasa kuna mwanamke mama mtu mzima amechinjwa kama vile unavyochinja ng'ombe na mjukuu wake wa kiume. Lakini mambo haya yanapelekwa chini ya maji. Mambo haya hayazungumziwi Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi ningependa waziri wa usalama aje hapa atuambie anafanya kitu gani kuhakikisha kuwa visa hivi vinaweza kuchukuliwa hatua na mambo haya yakaisha. Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna mambo mengi ambayo yanatendeka ndani ya social media, kwenye mitandao. Sisi kina mama tunatukanwa na watu tunaowajua, atakupa matusi mpaka yale ya mvunguni. Roho zetu ni ndogo, roho zetu ni dhaifu. Mheshimiwa Spika, unapata mtu, kuna watu wengi wametoka kwenye mtandao, ameenda amefunga kamba, amejiua kwa sababu yale mambo ambayo yanaambiwa kwenye social media. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni mambo ya kumdhuru, ni mambo ambayo yanamtoa ile hadhi yake, ni mambo ambayo yanamsumbua hata usingizi hawezi kupata. Mheshimiwa Spika, na ndio mambo ambayo sisi ndani ya bunge hili inafaa tuangalie. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna watu hata kama kuna freedom ya speech, Mheshimiwa Spika, haya mambo yamefika mbali, na leo watoto wetu wanaitwa kwenye mtandao. Hawa ambao unaona wameuawa, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni watoto ambao wametongozwa kwenye mtandao. Mtu anampigia simu ama anamchat, akishamchat anamwambia njoo mahali fulani, kisha anachukua advantage kuwa yule amekuja, anamuua kiukatili, anatoa sehemu za mwili, anaondoka nazo. Mheshimiwa Spika, na la kutamausha, serikali imenyamaza. Serikali imenyamaza Spika. Mimi kama mama kaunti wa Mombasa, mimi nasikia uchungu sana. Ni wakati sasa serikali ianze kuchukua hatua. Ni wakati ambapo serikali ianze kusikiza sauti za kina mama. Mimi nimekuwa na tena, mimi nataka kuwapongeza sana wale wabunge wanaume walioko ndani ya bunge hii wakati huu ambapo tunatoa huu mjadala. Nimshukuru ndugu yangu Junet, nimeona Kiare pale, nimeona na wabunge wanaume. Nyinyi mmesimama na kina mama, na mimi leo nawapongeza. Nawapongeza. Bunge limebaki tupu. Watakuja na mijadala yao, watataka sisi kina mama tuwatetee, sisi tunauliwa. Tutasimama na wale viongozi ambao wanasimama na kina mama. Mheshimiwa Spika, na ni wakati ambapo tuanze kuzungumza kwa sauti moja. Mwanamke anafaa heshimiwe, mtoto wa kike anafaa athaminike. Haya mauaji tunasema yaweze kusitishwa. Tumezungumza tukilalamika siku zote. Mheshimiwa Spika, nenda katika makoti yetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kesi zimejaa. Mtoto amelawitiwa, mtoto mdogo, mtoto ameuawa, lakini kwa sababu hata wale majaji wa kutosha pia hatuna. Na ndio mimi kama mama kaunti namlilia Chief Justice wetu kule Mombasa, tuongezee majaji. Hizi kesi ziko, babu amelawiti mjukuu wake, ametoka yuko kule anauza barafu, mtoto anakaa na aibu, mtoto wa class 6 wa skuli. Yule mzee yuko nje tu anacheza ile keram, anafanya mambo yake anamwendea. Yule wa Sharon tunaona kule nje wako tu, hatujapata mtu paka sasa ambaye alimuua, wala kesi jaamuliwa kivovote vile. Yule mama amekufa na mtoto wake. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama mama kaunti mimi nasema tuweke sheria, mwenye kuua auliwe, mwenye kulawiti mtoto mdogo akatwe dude lake. Mheshimiwa Spika, tusipokwenda namna hiyo, hii watu watakuwa wakiendelea kila siku wanalawiti watoto, wanaua kina mama, na wao wanakaa wakinywa kahawa wakijisikia vizuri mahali wako. Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi tunasema jicho kwa jicho, sikio kwa sikio. Ukiua na wewe uwawe, ukilawiti na wewe ukatwe dude lake. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
The Honorable John Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to also add my voice to this very important debate. Honorable Speaker, this matter is a matter of the society, it's a matter of the family, it's not a women issue. It's a very, very important issue that is affecting our country at this point in time. I wish to thank the two honorable ladies who have contributed to this debate to bring up this motion for discussion. Honorable Speaker, the debate is referred to as femicide. And the femicide has the connotation of a woman or women being killed by men or girls being killed by men. Honorable Speaker, normal men would never hurt a woman. In fact, I want to categorically say that even abnormal men, mad men, don't kill women. We have seen madmen all over, and we have never seen a madman associated with killing a woman. I want to thank the media for bringing out the match that they have been able to. And I want to purposely ask the media to do more than they have done, because we need some of these issues highlighted. We need statistics brought to the fore. We need cases mentioned specifically. And we need progress also posted so that we may be able to see what is happening to some of these cases. Honorable Speaker, We have seen cases where women are not only killed, but they are dismembered, and that is not the end. They are also put in bags and thrown out. We have seen women killed, and then parts of their body, the hand gets missing. We have seen women being thrown out of windows like pieces of rubbish. We have seen women mistreated in this country. And we have not seen reports from other countries which appears to depict Kenya having this particular problem. Honourable Speaker, we should not demonize Airbnbs, because Airbnbs have been existing for a very long time. I don't think there is anything wrong with Airbnbs. I think there is something wrong with the society. There is something wrong with some of those people who have taken to this killing. The peculiarity of this killing, Honourable Speaker, is that a lot more of it is happening to close people. People are close to each other, to friends, to families, to couples, to even people who say they are in love. Honourable Speaker, and again, another peculiarity about the cases we are seeing is that even the matters that land in court, the penalties are not spelled out early enough, soon enough for us to realize that the seriousness in this matter. Honourable Speaker, something is terribly wrong. And as a House of Parliament, we need to do something in our position. We need to come up with a law that is going to help and protect our children, our mothers, and our wives. Honourable Speaker, the apparent poisoning of the mind through alcoholism and substance abuse is one of the issues attributed to this. We are having parties in private houses. We are having parties that lead to anything. And Honourable Speaker, I need to caution our young women for one thing. Number one, when you get into a relationship, don't keep it too secret, because keeping it secret enables the killer to propagate to basically adjudicate their plan. Do not keep it secret. Let people know. There is nothing absolutely wrong with being in a relationship. Let people know that you're in a relationship. Honourable Speaker, the other important thing that is also important, we need to know, is that know your friends very well. If you see someone who doesn't want to be known, who is a child of so and so and therefore does not need to be known, avoid like poison, because that person is not real. Honourable Speaker, abstain from parties in private residences for the young people, especially the young ladies. And should the parties turn nasty, please take off, save your life, run away. Because that is what is happening, because some of these parties, Honourable Speaker, as we read in the papers sometimes, they turn nasty, and then people kill each other. If you are not a substance user and you are forced to use it, if you refuse to use it, you can even be killed. We have a problem in this country. We are calling up our law enforcement entities to take this matter up seriously, especially substance abuse. There is widespread substance abuse in this country that needs to be contained. And containment will also not only save our women and our children and our daughters, it will also save the nation. Substance is being used anywhere, and therefore something needs to be done. Honourable Speaker, with those very few remarks, I wish to support this particular motion.
The Honourable Catherine Omanyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is indeed difficult to discuss such a topic because something is dreadfully amiss in our society. I was forced to think that sometimes some people are badly cultured. But I think apart from being badly cultured, they have some criminal agents in their mind, some gene. Because how can anybody start thinking to just kill somebody because either they dislike that gender or they just hate them, or just, that is just criminal. I stand here as a mother of twins, girls, and as an aunt to various nieces, and a girlfriend to various women MPs here and those that I schooled with. And I look at every woman with a lot of adoration. And I look at every woman and thank God for coming up with women in this world. Women run the world. And if we scare them, that we walk every day and know that we are insecure, that even sometimes I wonder if the DCI, if all the agents of security in this world, in this country, are awake. Do these people have daughters that we keep reading as if it's a storybook, and it is not a storybook? It is indeed happening in our country. We have to stamp down and bring out all the perpetrators, let them be behind bars, and something serious to take place, like maybe even, because some of them we have been arrested at the airport. Some of them were running away. And some of them, if they are arrested, must be having friends or cartels or people they do this business with. Why target girls? I even say it is not good to target anybody. There is nothing that can justify anyone being killed. I have been reading some comments. Some people say, hey, you girls, slay queens, you are too much. You are taxing us. You can never justify why anybody was killed. And I can never say that somebody was killed because. I can never. So I bleed, I cry with every family that has lost their daughter in that manner. And I just want to not allow any tolerance of any manner. Our government must wake up and do everything in a speed that is acceptable, because this deliberate killing of women has been happening, and we read on newspapers like it is just a day that happens, another day, and then we look for another day again of this kind of stories and just ignore. I think it is time everybody, whether a man or a woman, should say no to femicide. If you don't do it, it will be knocking your door the next day, and you will now maybe understand why it is not okay to okay such kind of criminal actions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable John Waweru.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you, and I wish you a happy new year, because this is the first time you are presiding over a session. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Honorable Member, County MP for Nairobi, Honorable Esther Passaris. I want to thank Kewopa, under the leadership of Honorable Leah, and all the women of this parliament who have turned this Valentine's Day into a day of reflection. Mr. Speaker, there's a lot to reflect on. Mr. Speaker, over the lunch break, I had a Valentine's lunch with over 300 leaders from the Dagoretti South constituency. It was a great celebration, because to my mind, Mr. Speaker, of all God's creation, I cannot imagine of a more beautiful creation than the women that God created. And I rise, Mr. Speaker, to assure the ladies in this house that they are men who value women. I stand here to assure you that in Kenya, we have men who value women, not only the women of Kenya, but of all of God's creation. Mr. Speaker, the statistics are alarming. We needed to be called to order. We are being told that Kenya is ranking among the highest, among the highest countries when it comes to femicide. Mr. Speaker, this is not what Kenya would be proud of. So when we bring this topic to the House, Mr. Speaker, we are talking about the image of a country that is just about to be known for killing its women. Mr. Speaker, I would not want us to waste this opportunity that we have as a House to make it a session of lamentation. It ought to be a session where we decide what it is that we've got to do going ahead, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the action of killing is the final act in a long trail of things that happens before someone premeditates to kill an individual. But it all starts with a thought. It starts in the mind. And Mr. Speaker, what we are seeing, we would not be wrong to say that this is a very sick country. Mr. Speaker, if you want us to verify that, you need to just go to our social media. Look at the conversations that are happening on the interwebs. See how nasty and toxic this country has become, that an individual will take up upon an individual that they know nothing of to tear them down on social media. It tells you of the mental state of this country, Mr. Speaker. So before we get to killing the women and the girls, We started out by being an extremely mentally sick nation, Mr. Speaker. So as we treat this, as we seek for a remedy, Mr. Speaker, we'll need to have a conversation on the mental health of this country. What is our national psyche? Mr. Speaker, we also will need to seek innovative approaches. The approaches can be supported by emerging technologies, Mr. Speaker. As we speak today, we do not have any data that would indicate as to who these killers are and what signs we should be looking out for in an individual who is predisposed to be a killer. Mr. Speaker, we need to seek some innovative approaches. But mostly, Mr. Speaker, there is the element of negative masculinity. That the power and the strength that men have been given that was supposed to protect their women and children is now being misused, Mr. Speaker. So we have to ask ourselves, who is going to be the killer of women in the year 2030? Who is that young boy we are bringing up? What is the conversation we are having around the boy child? Because, Mr. Speaker, the boy child we are bringing up today might end up to be a nastier child than the men who are killing today. Allow me to conclude, Mr. Speaker, by saying that if we draw a dichotomy between men and women and point a finger to one gender, we shall be doing the most nasty thing, because we need that man to be the protector of the girl and the woman. We need to bring up that boy who will sing that song of Solomon, Mr. Speaker. You are a poet. You know Solomon celebrating his women. And on this Valentine's Day, we want to bring up that man who shall sing like Solomon and say, who is that young woman? She shines out like the dawn. She is pretty as the moon. She is bright as the sun. She is awesome as the stars in the sky. And that is what I see in a woman when I look at one. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, the poet. Let's have the Honorable Wilberforce Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand here today to stand with the women of this country, the women of the world, and the women of God. Honorable Speaker, any life lost is one life lost too many. There's no justifiable reason, there's no justifiable cause for anybody to attempt to kill anybody, be it a man or a woman. More so, Honorable Speaker, where we come from, women are treated as the tender gender, are treated with special attention, and any thought of killing a woman is considered repugnant, is considered against the norms, is considered against anything that is considered bad in this country. Honorable Speaker, I feel sorry for the young girls who are lured in this kind of arrangement and end up in tears, end up with missing body parts, while they went there to enjoy themselves like anybody else. And the advice I want to give to the men, the young men, so to speak, it doesn't have to be by force. It doesn't have to end in such a manner. Even if you are denied, there is always another opportunity, there's always another day. There is no reason at all to attempt to molest and kill anybody else. Honorable Speaker, as we stand here today, we must call the security agencies to order. Many of these crimes are committed, and many of those people who commit these crimes go scot-free. They're never apprehended, they're never punished. It is important the security agencies take their work seriously, because there is no crime that can fail to be detected and punished. Any crime that is committed, there is always a trace. There is always circumstantial evidence to enable any of the security agencies identify these criminals. Honorable Speaker, as we talk about these issues, we must therefore invest in forensic research. We must invest in evidence gathering to ensure that we avoid these kind of things. Honorable Speaker, at one time, the government invested heavily in CCTVs and monitoring systems. Where have they gone? That they are unable to track any movements of any criminals of this nature. Honorable Speaker, as we stand here, we changed our constitution in 2010 that allowed every person accused of any offense to be given bail. Probably it's high time the judiciary needs to go back and relook at what are the terms and conditions that a person who has committed a crime is given bail. Many times, Honorable Speaker, crimes are committed, those who are accused are given bail the same day, they go back to intimidate the same victims they have committed a crime against. So it becomes now a vicious cycle. He will commit a crime, go get charged in court, he's released, he goes and threatens, commits more crimes. Honorable Speaker, what we are seeing, Honorable Speaker, are the few cases that have been reported. There are so many cases that go unreported because of fear and the stigma associated with these cases. We want to urge the women wherever you are, even the men, when you are molested, when you are a victim, speak out, report immediately. But as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, we have a saying in my community, and allow me to quote this, that is Simba Ikona Bakwane. Loosely translated, it means you only go where you can rhyme. So it's a rallying call to both the boys and the girls, be careful where you fall in love. We used to say during our days that love is blind, but honestly speaking, it should not blind you into death. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. The Honorable Dorothy Ikaria.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to join the women in this House and the women in this country in reflecting on the issues that are touching directly on us. And Honorable Speaker, I want to start by thanking Honorable Mheshimiwa Esther Passaris for moving this very, very important motion for us to discuss and reflect on this evening. Honorable Speaker, death is final. When I say that, Honorable Speaker, I want to say my heart goes to all the parents who have lost their loved ones through these killings that have taken place in this country during this time. Honorable Speaker, I want to reflect and remember very promising young girls. One, Eve Wangeshi, the Egerton girl, who was butchered with an axe. I want to remember Monica Kemani, a lady whose judgment was just the other day, who was killed in the most uncouth manner, butchered and a throat slit. I want to remember Starret Wow. I want to remember a young, promising university girl, Rita Waeni. And the list is endless. Honorable Speaker, these young girls and the many women who have lost their lives have died very, very painful deaths. Honorable Speaker, it is very evident that they have not only died quietly, but they have been butchered. Real butchering, Honorable Speaker, because when you see somebody's head being slit and separated from the body, we wonder if it is a normal person who has done that, or if it is somebody under very, very serious influence, either drugs or completely intoxicated, such that you can be able to take a saw and slit a head and separate it from the body from someone that you are going to make love to. Honorable Speaker, this society has lost it completely. Because, Honorable Speaker, the time we were growing, I have never witnessed one single person, man or woman, being killed by a lover. Honorable Speaker, we are talking of jilted lovers, we are talking of dealers, we are talking of endless things that these young people think they'll end the suffering that they are going through. But Honorable Speaker, I want to call upon the young men in our society. Killing will not solve your problems. Killing a woman is cowardice. Killing a woman is like wanting to end a generation. Because, Honorable Speaker, we are wondering, when all these girls are killed, where will children ever come from? Honorable Speaker, it's very painful because right now as we speak, according to a report by the Nation Media dated 6 January 2024, this is data from the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. It shows that they received 400 serious defilement and rape cases, and majority of them being women aged 75 and girls as young as 2 months. Honorable Speaker, as if that is not enough, this same statistic is showing that femicide in the year 2023, at least 152 women were killed, the highest in the past 5 years. Honorable Speaker, I want to say, without missing my words, if the various security agencies don't take action and apprehend these evil people in the society, Honorable Speaker, we are sitting on a time bomb. Honorable Speaker, all that said, I also want to thank the security agencies and more so the Ministry of Interior, because, Honorable Speaker, we cannot rush what they are doing.
You have had your bites. The Honorable Dick Maungu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I also want to add my voice to this great debate, first and foremost, by applauding our sister, Honorable Passaris, for coming up with a motion that is timely at a time when the country is in many questions. Mr. Speaker, we did clear last year with such happenings and began the year again with a lot of such happening. And one question that has continued to ring in our minds, what became of men that from people who are supposed to be protectors, people who are supposed to be providers, have not turned out to be murderers and people who slit the throat of others. I therefore join other colleagues in saying that this is an act that should be stopped. This is an act that should be condemned across this country, because we want to bring up a generation of men and women who have respect for human life, people who have respect for the sanctity of life, Mr. Speaker. But from what we've been seeing in the social media, it appears that we have a group of people amongst ourselves as men who've lost our definition of men, because we are no longer protectors, we are no longer providers, but beasts, sorry to use that word, but people who behave like beasts, people who behave like they are animals, Mr. Speaker. I therefore join my colleague in saying that this should be condemned. And maybe the Ministry of Interior should actually take a cue from this and ensure that justice is served to families that have lost their loved ones, Mr. Speaker. Maybe it's a high time that as a country, we need to have a public inquest, a public inquiry into all these deaths and find out what is it that has happened to ensure that there's justice, to ensure that there's equity, and there's fairness to the many families that have lost their dear ones. Mr. Speaker, dating is not a crime, and a young girl who falls in love with a man is not a crime. And therefore, a case in mind when somebody even had to go to an extent of having a testing kit to ensure that the lady was not positive in terms of HIV, Mr. Speaker, and then move on and dismember the body of the given person after having had a good time with this lady, Mr. Speaker. This is very inhuman. And I want to call upon our young girls that never again should we allow to be in secret relationships with some of these people who appear to be after killing them and taking off their life, Mr. Speaker. Let them communicate to their parents, let them communicate to their friends wherever they are going for a date, because these people have turned out to be murderers, Mr. Speaker. And as a leader and on behalf of my people in Luanda, we condemn this and say that we shall not even, we shall support government when it comes up with the policy that will ensure that such people are taken in, Mr. Speaker. Somebody once said that if you kill by the sword, you need to die by the sword. There can be no better way to deal with these people than having them killed, Mr. Speaker. And a motion should come in this House where we shall declare that if somebody so does the same, Mr. Speaker, the best thing should be that he should equally face the law by having his neck also chopped off, if that is court will stop these evil things in this country. I rise to support, and thank you, MP Nairobi, for this great motion. Thank you.
The Honorable Fatma Masito, is she in the House? Proceed.
Basi asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kuweza kunipatia nafasi hii nami niweze kuunga mkono hoja iliyoko mbele ya bunge hili, hoja ya mauaji ya wanawake ambayo imetanda katika taifa hili letu la Kenya. Pia nimpongeze dadangu Mheshimiwa Passaris, mbunge wa kaunti ya Nairobi, na pia nipongeze shirika la KEWOPA, shirika la wanawake ambalo tangu juzi limekuwa likitilia pondo swala hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, usituone wiki hii wanawake wa bunge hili au wajumbe wanawake tunavalia mavazi ya rangi nyeusi. Hii ni ishara tosha ya kuwa wanawake wako katika msiba. Wako katika msiba mkuu ambao umeisibu taifa hili juu ya mauaji ya wanawake wanaouliwa kiholela. Wanawake wamekuwa ni kama mchezo wa paka na panya, mambo ambayo wanayopitia. Kwa kusema ukweli, mimi ninatoa rambirambi zangu kwa uchungu mkubwa sana, nikiwa mwanamke ambaye ninajua uchungu wa uzazi. Poleni sana kwa zile familia ambazo zimefikwa na misiba hii, kuona mtoto wako wa kike ameuawa kiholela. Pengine mtoto wako mwenyewe umemsomesha vizuri, anafanya kazi yake nzuri, anaishi maisha yake mazuri, na wewe kama mzazi unafurahi ukiona mtoto wako wa kike anaendelea vizuri. Mheshimiwa Spika, hakuna uchungu kama wa kupoteza mtoto ambao wanawake huwa wanapitia. Sijui kwa nyinyi wanaume, Mheshimiwa Spika, huwa munasikiaje, lakini ni uchungu mkubwa kuona mtoto wako anakupotea tena kwa mauaji ya kikatili. Unaona msichana ameuawa, amekatwa kama nyama ya mshakiki, imewekwa kwa mfuko wa karatasi. Hujui huyu muuaji alikuwa ana unyama kiasi gani. Dunia imefika mwisho, sisi Waislamu tunaweza kusema hivyo. Haya ni mambo ambayo yametabiriwa katika Qur'ani tukufu. Utafika wakati binadamu watageuka kuwa wanyama na wanyama watageuka watakuwa binadamu. Ni uchungu ulioje, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa Wakenya, kwa wanawake kwa jumla, na pia nimeona wanaume wakituunga mkono kwa sababu wao pia wanazaa watoto wa kike. Usalama wa watoto wetu, Mheshimiwa Spika, uko wapi? Mimi ningeomba serikali yetu hii iliyoko, na mimi najua hii serikali ingekuwa ya Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga, haya mambo yangekuwa rahisi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Yule mzee ana huruma nyingine tofauti ya uzazi. Mimi nashangaa nikiona serikali haijafungua mdomo tangu majuzi haya maneno yaanze kutendeka. Kweli hawa ni wazazi? Kweli hawa wanazaa watoto wa kike? Kweli hawa wanazaa watoto hata wa kiume? Kwa sababu dhulma ni dhulma, Mheshimiwa Spika. Sio dhulma ya mtoto wa kike peke yake ni chungu, lakini dhulma ya kumpoteza mtoto ni dhulma na ni uchungu kwa mzazi yoyote ambaye amezaa mtoto yule. Waswahili wanasema mwerevu.
Order, member. Yes, what's your point of order?
Okay.
Please give her the mic. Okay, you have one near you now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to fault the member. Is it in order for the member to say our government is not doing enough? Well, we have seen people being arrested. And as we speak today, Honorable Speaker, there is even one who is in jail and being taken back to the US. Honorable Speaker, it is very disrespectful for a member to disrespect our president, where else this government is doing all what it takes to ensure that every citizen in this country is safe. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well, you may proceed, Honorable Member who was on the floor, but as much as possible, could we
Basi asante sana mheshimiwa.
order, member, could we depoliticize this matter? It's very sensitive and sad. Proceed.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Yangu tu ni kusinyikiza kusema mwerevu, mjinga akierevuka, I mean mwerevu, not, mjinga akierevuka, basi mwerevu yuko mashakani. Sisi wanawake mnatuona wajinga, mnatufanyia vitendo vya kinyama, lakini siku moja tukierevuka mtatupata mbali. Na nisirikize pia niseme, ukimya si ujinga wala si upumbavu, Mheshimiwa Spika. Ni jambo la kusikitisha kwa wazazi, na hiyo inanifanya ninaongea mpaka nasikia ile emotion, nimeguswa kama mwanamke ambaye anapitia mambo haya. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na niweze kuunga mkono hoja hii ambayo imeletwa na dada yetu Esther Passaris. Asante Mheshimiwa Esther Passaris. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Cecil Ngiti.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice on the adjournment motion brought up by Honorable Passaris, the Honorable County MP for Nairobi. Honorable Speaker, I don't know if it's by design or coincidence that when the world is celebrating love, we are here discussing evils that have come along with what is supposed to be called love, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think all these killings that are directed to women should just be brought to book, Honorable Speaker. And I like it when I hear that at least something is being done. But whatever is being done is not enough yet, Honorable Speaker. You know, it even hurts more to realize that some of these crimes are carried out by people who are not our countrymen, by people who are not Kenyans. The people we host, the people our country give home, are the people hurting us the most. And they walk scot-free. We've not seen them being deported. We've not seen them facing the wrath of the law, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in the Bible, in the good book, the position of a woman is so clear. God has placed a woman in a place of honor. That is elaborate in that incident where our Virgin Mary conceived the Savior Jesus without physical interference of a man. That alone shows the honor that God gives the woman, Honorable Speaker. We could conceive without physical interference of a man. If those men were there that day, I don't know what they would have done to the Virgin Mary, Honorable Speaker. But thank God it happened those days. So, Honorable Speaker, whatever is happening in Kenya should not be. And I like it when Honorable Jeanette was putting it like those men should not be called men. Those are animals. They have lost humanity. They are so inhuman. They are not even animals. Animals have some sort of, some kindness. Those men cannot be described as even animals. They are the devils, and the devils more of the devils. And even the devil himself is wondering on those men. The devil himself is wondering, what kind of devils are they, Honorable Speaker? And I want to talk to the woman of Kenya that continue keeping strong. We are still that strong gender. We are still that powerful gender that even in the Bible, we were able to understand the language of the snake. And we really talked to these men, and they did what they did, and the story goes on as you know in the Bible. Women are the first people who witnessed the rising of Christ. Women in the Bible have brought down powerful men. So we are great people, Honorable Speaker. And even the men who kill us, we are the people who conceive them. Without a woman, there cannot be a man, Honorable Speaker. But with a woman, there can be a man and there can be a woman. That is why I just started by saying Virgin Mary conceived Jesus without physical intervention of a man. That shows our power, Honorable Speaker. And we want to tell the men And, okay, I like it how Honorable KG was, John Kerry was putting it, Honorable Speaker, that as parents of this country, what kind of a boy are we bringing up, Honorable Speaker? If indeed those boys or those men belong to this country, as parents, what kind of parenting are we giving to our children? It starts from there. Because if you've given animosity to our children, if they see animosity at home level, if they see the mother being beaten by the father, you know, they grow with violence, and then they just know a woman is meant to be beaten, a woman is meant to be killed. And I want to speak to the parents of this nation that when you have differences, when you have fights, fight without your children seeing it. Because whatever we are seeing is a result of children who have seen parents fighting, and they have seen violence as a normal thing, and they have carried it on. By the way, I was asking today, why do you even kill a woman who has brought herself there? She has not eaten the fare, she has come. Why do you kill her, honestly? The women who have been killed took themselves there. They did not eat the fare, they went there. They trusted these men. Shame on you, and even shame on you is not enough for you, the killers. And we want to talk to Interior Minister, Honorable Kindiki. Please, take it.
No, very well. The interest in this matter is very high. You have had your bite. The Honorable Naomi Wako, and let me thank you being in the leadership. You have not harassed me, you have killed. Proceed, Honorable Naomi Wako.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this very important statement motion that is being debated. As I also congratulate Honorable Passaris and Kewopa team for bringing this matter up. Honorable Speaker, it is a very sad day for women of this country, because if you reflect or if you look at the statistics, over 500 women and girls have been murdered in Kenya since 2016. This is quite huge. And unfortunately, women are so helpless when it comes to some situation. And it is also known that femicide in Kenya is the current silent epidemic of violence against women. Honorable Speaker, we know very well that especially today, many young people struggle in their marriages, and especially the young women, simply because of gender-based violence. Women have no peace in their homes, and especially in their bedrooms. Women have no peace at their workplace. Even in politics, women have no peace because there are people who insult them, who try to intimidate them, who use all manner of names to intimidate women and violate their rights. Women in Kenya have no safe place to hide their heads. Honorable Speaker, the idea of killing a woman in Kenya has become so common such that no one is giving attention. Thanks to women leaders today who have passionately brought this matter out and also said, let us be part of this by putting on black dress so that we mourn our women or our young girls who have died. I also want to thank the men who have stood firm with the women here to just say what they have said to encourage women in our country. Femicide is the most severe form of gender violence. By the time a woman is killed, she must have gone through so many things, a lot of pain, and somebody must have just frustrated her to that point of killing her. And when we talk of a woman or our young girls, this is somebody's daughter, somebody's mom, somebody's sister, and you have no mercy. It is like Kenyan men are saying, we can do without women, and there is nothing like that. Even after God created Adam and Eve, he realized Adam was not able to do anything. He was not able to enjoy the Garden of Eden until the woman was brought forward. And we all know very well, a society is made up of families. And when women experience these painful moments in their homes, then we are also having an unhealthy society. Honorable Speaker, the statistics are alarming, and we must do or bring up some serious measures so that women can be safeguarded, women can be protected, and we demand serious action as soon as possible so that this cannot continue. The pain and the trauma that parents or sisters or the families go through is such a huge one. We need to come up with a system that can support them. It is unfortunate that Kenya is ranking quite high in GBV. We must do something as a nation. And my advice to our young girls, please be careful with whoever you relate to. Thank you, and I support.
The Honorable Rashid Beziba, Kisauni.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwanza ni shukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwa kutupa uzima na nguvu na uhai kuweza kurudi tena katika bunge hili baada ya likizo ndefu. Na pia mimi Mheshimiwa Spika, ninasimama kupenyeza sauti yangu kulani kitendo cha mauaji ya wanawake. Na hili si swala la viongozi wa kike peke yake. Hili ni swala la taifa zima kusimama pamoja kulaani hasa hawa mashetani wachache ambao wamechipuka sasa kwa kuweza kuua akina mama ama wanawake kwa kuwakatakata. Na si wanaume wote ambao ni wabaya. Wanaume ni wazuri wengine, na wengi wao. Mimi mwenyewe nimekaa na mke wangu zaidi ya miaka 30 sasa. Niko na mtoto wa kike. Tunaishi vizuri na tunapendana mpaka leo, mpaka tunaona kama mbe tumeoana jana. Kwa hivyo ni kitendo cha wale mashetani. Na hata mila zetu haziruhusu kutoa uhai wa mwanamke au binadamu yoyote yule. Hairuhusu. Hata katika imani yetu ya dini, katika vita vyenyewe, hasa kama kuna vita hasa vikali, lakini sisi tunakatazwa ama watu wanakatazwa kuua mwanamke na mtoto. Lakini huyu ambaye wanaua sasa wanawake, huyu ni shetani moja kwa moja. Na ningeomba idara ya ujasusi na jinai na polisi wa kawaida, polisi wa usalama, lazima washirikiane kwa taarifa. Jambo likiwa limefanyika, kwanza waweze kulizuia lisifanyike, na kama litakuwa limefanyika isichukue wiki wale wahusika wawe wameshikwa, hapo ndo itazuia hili jambo. Lakini ikiwa tutakuwa sisi tunaliwacha hili jambo, mtu anakaa mwezi mmoja au miwili, huyu mtu ana miezi miwili bado hajashikwa, inatoa nguvu na fikra za kufanya wengine wale mashetani. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu wengi bado wanahitaji kuzungumza, mimi nimesimama kulani kitendo hichi, na tunaomba Mungu awalaze mahali pema wale ambao washatangulia. Asante.
Asante sana. Mheshimiwa Ruweida Obo.
Asante Bwana Spika kunipatia nami nafasi nichangie. Mwanzo nataka nimpongeze mwakilishi mwanamke wa Nairobi County, dada yetu Esther Pasari, kwa kuleta hoja hii. Pia ni shukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwamba kule eneo mimi ninaloliwakilisha, Lamu Mashariki, hakujawahi kutokea mauaji haya ya kinyama. Yaani wanaume wetu ni wastaarabu, hawaui wanawake. Na nataka niwapongeze, nichukue nafasi hii niwapongeze wanaume wetu wa Lamu Mashariki. Katika shida nyingi zinatokea Kenya, sisi hatukosi hizo shida, lakini shida hii alhamdulillah tunashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwetu hakuna. Lakini leo tunalia na Wakenya wengine. Si sawa wanawake kuuawa. Na pia nataka niseme si sawa sisi kulaumu tu serikali. Mimi ninavyoona kuna mambo serikali imepanga. Kenya ni nchi yenye sheria. Kuna sheria zimepangwa na ziko, lakini hazitumiki. Kitu ya kwanza nataka kutia mkazo ni kuna ile namba ambayo inafaa kupigwa. Wakenya hawajui, wanawake hawajui. kuna namba ni 1195. Hii namba iko masaa 24. Ni namba ambayo huweza piga bila malipo. Namba hiyo ukipatikana na tatizo lolote, kama ni ubakaji, kama ni jambo lingine lolote, mwanamke, unapata nusra, unapata watu wa kukusaidia, hata kama ni kwa mawazo, wa kuambia fanya vipi, fanya vipi. Ningeomba sisi wanawake tulioko hapa, hata si wanawake peke yake, kwa sababu